Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 563. Hopefully, you guys have had a great Friday, good start to your weekend. I've got another fun guest, somebody that you've seen around the community for sure. CrackBabies DWC. How you doing, my friend? You want to tell us how you're doing and where they can find you?
Hey, cheers, Eagle. Yeah, man, I'm doing great. My name's CrackBabies, DWC. I'm mainly at Coco for cannabis, but now you can find me on the Sundays and Confused show on Sunday mornings, 10 to 2 a.m. or p.m. And also on YouTube, it's CrackBabies DWC, and on IG, same name.
They're funneling right in to hear your story, my friend. So cheers to everybody that's piling in.
Cool.
So what do you got to smoke on tonight? Did you bring something to smoke on?
Oh yeah, I rolled up a few there. So I got some Northern Lights crossed with some skunk that I got from QCS. So I grew that out. That was actually my first Canatrol cure there that I bought the Canatrol there, a bit like Smart Poker there. We actually bought it on the same day, and I got to use it first. So that was my first batch of trying that out there. So it's pretty tasty. And I got a bit of green crack. That's my signature. That's why I have the name there. I guess I should explain that off the bat there. I don't do crack or anything like that there. I love green crack, and my first batch was green crack bag seeds. And oddly enough, I had seen it grow on Reddit, and I found it cool that he named it Crack Babies because he didn't know who the fathers were, right? They're bag seeds. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I just took that name because I was doing the same thing. It was my first grow of cocoa for cannabis. I was putting 8 green crack bag seeds into the net pots there. So I figured, that's a good name. That's my name. And it just stuck. I was gonna change it, but I couldn't change the name. So it's like, you know what? No, let's just leave it. So I added DWC so there's no confusion there because it's a little hairy.
Well, I'm glad you explained a little bit or expanded on that. I was a little curious myself, but it's one of those things like, do I ask? Do I not ask? I don't know. So I'm glad you explained, my
Good stuff.
friend. Um, and I'm glad it's a better story than, you know,
It
crack
could have
story.
been. Exactly. Most people go that route, and I just wanted to, make sure it doesn't. So we're all good that way.
So I guess we might as well get this rolling the way we always do. When was the first time that cannabis come into your life, man?
Well, damn. First time I actually tried it was in fifth grade. It was a friend of mine that I used to hang around with. That we used to, go smoke and go check out the pornos in the woods there and stuff like that. And this one time, he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to see my uncle. Why don't you come with me? And he actually showed me this bag, and it's like, oh, I got this off my dad. And it was weed. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So we went to his uncle's place, and he rolled up a joint, and he just did us each a shotgun. I don't. That's all I remember of the event. There is we got that puff there. I don't remember really getting high either, but you know, fast forward from that, that was the only time really. Then fast forward from that to about, I think it was about 12 years old, 12, 13, 83, 85, 83, 84, or something like that. Metallica, Kill 'Em All had just come out there, and Ride the Lightning. So yeah, around those days. So I was around 12, 13, and it was actually hash. It just happened to be in an area where weed wasn't too prevalent, but hash was kind of regular. So I started smoking that. I had just moved into a place too there, a new area, and it was kind of a secluded area. It was kind of surrounded by a park, so it wasn't like just endless neighborhoods. It was just our little neighborhood. So we would always gather at the same spots, and talk about stuff. And, oh, so you smoke weed? Like, I've tried it, because I had one toke, but that would, potentially I had smoke there. So, but they're like, oh, well, here, we got some hash and tried that. That I definitely got high off. The first few times there, it was like, oh my Lord, got pretty high. The munchies like crazy there. Just go to bed, you know. But I got used to it after a bit there. It got more regular, and beer was also more available. I was on the Quebec side back then. I'm up in Canada, so beer was a little more available to us. There was all in the corner stores and stuff. So I don't know how it is where you guys are, but it's a little different in Ontario and stuff like that. So yeah, we experimented. A lot of fun. I just basically kept doing that. I never really stopped. I like the effect of being able to sleep. I was a pretty active kid. A lot of thoughts at night. I can't sleep. Don't want to go to school, because I can't sleep. So it's like, at least this would let me sleep and be normal a bit, But, yeah, so that continued on for quite a bit. I didn't really grow anything till just like recently, in the last 2.5 years, 3 years. But I've been smoking for a long time. I had a lot of experience with all sorts of different things. But
You don't know how many times I hear in that first story there that it made me feel normal. That seems to be the underlying statement from a lot of people during that first or second experience or the description of their first comings with cannabis. I feel it made me feel normal. And I have to agree. I have to agree. For you, you say mainly for the sleep part of it, but well, would you say there was more to it other than that? Just a calming kind of feeling?
exactly, high strongness and stuff like that, calm down, stressful day, even just, episodes where you get angry at stuff or whatever, a lot of stuff piss you off during the day. Well, that'll let you get your nerves back and, kind of assess the situation calmly, not screaming, It's really good for, easing the stress, right? And stress is, I realize, is a killer, man. Like it's just overall really bad. So yeah, man. I mean, it was a big advantage, and I didn't really, like it made me feel good, but at the same time, it was illegal and all the, the negative connotations to it. I didn't feel like it was bad, but I kind of knew that it was, right? So that's like comfortable balance. I did it anyways. I'm glad I did. I think it. I think it had some benefits I didn't know about. Till later, which was kind of cool.
For me, I played sports and uh, did pretty well in school. I like to think. But for me, it aided me because I was like a morning stoner or whatever. You'd always catch me at the bus stop, burning down with a bunch of other folks. If I didn't necessarily have that morning sesh, man, uh, I actually found myself doing worse in school. If this makes any sense to you,
It does.
uh, if if I didn't have that session in the morning, I found myself bored, my mind running all day
Exactly.
long. If I had that sesh, then it just made me kind of more engulfed in class and what the teacher was saying. I don't know if most of the time they just made it that boring to where it needed cannabis, you know what I mean, to
Yeah,
for a second draw, but it ate, I think, a lot in school for me.
that's kind of what my mom told me. She's like, you were really a hyperactive kid, and things were moving too slow for you. So maybe, the cannabis was slowing you down to their pace so that you could actually stand it and, I want to get the hell out of there, So in that sense, yeah, she's probably right there. Because, you know what I mean? It's even just in traffic, like sometimes I'll get really blitzed there, and I'm not like impaired, but I'm slowed down, that's for sure. And I feel like I can tolerate, everybody else. I feel like everyone else is stoner than I am. You know what I mean? And they're not smoking. Like, what the hell? So maybe they shouldn't. But it lets me deal with everyday stresses, because there's a lot of them, man. Even more and more these days there with all the you know what going on there. So.
You remember some of the first strains you encountered?
Oh man, it was mostly hash. So, and it was Afghani stuff there. It was the real deal. I remember seeing Arabic, symbols on the gold stamps and Kabul and stuff like that. And Kashmir was a name that came up. But in the weed though, like we did get, like we'd get some Colombian, what was it, the Colombian gold, no, Acapulco gold, the Colombian red, the lamb's breath, the tie stick, and we even got some Jamaican gum. That was something special. That was a really good hash. That was like a special hash. All those were rare though, like, and usually the brick, you know what I mean? Like in a can there that was branch, seed, everything. But I found out later, like just recently this year actually, that was all potentially like a South Asian cure style kind of. They packed it green, tight, and it cured on the boat on the way over kind of thing. Which kind of makes sense because when you look at it, I mean, the branches were all twisted up and they weren't really broken. They were just kind of all malformed and pressed together and they dried that way. And that kind of made sense. Because when you break it apart, there was like all fibers, like you're breaking apart a weave basket or something. I was like, what the hell is this stuff? But yeah. So it was, I never really knew what I smoked. I just smelled it. Sometimes you were presented with a few options. So it's like, okay, okay, let me that. Yeah, okay, I'll take that one. I don't know what the hell it was. It was the better smelling one, I guess. Because God knows. But to be honest, names started popping up when hash started disappearing, which was around I guess the start of the '90s. And that brickweed was starting to get overshadowed by BC Hydro. That was the big, BC Hydro. What strain? God knows. Skunk. All of it. It was all smelly, smelly stuff, and it was really, really good. It was better than the hash. That's kind of why, and the hash was kind of disappearing, so it kind of came at the right time. It was, the potency was becoming even, to where you could buy a gram of weed or a gram of hash and it was even. You weren't losing anything, and the price was about the same too. So it slowly transitioned. By the end of the '90s, it was all weed, BC Hydro. That continued on as well.
It always blows me away to hear the the first hash stories. You know what I mean? For everywhere else, it seems like, but the states here, everybody started on flour. So to hear the hash came first, because it's ass backwards, really.
Yeah.
We started with flour, and we're ultimately pushing towards the extracts or the hash. I prefer the bubble, dry slip hash in general, but it's not where I started. You know what I mean? We're going with flip flop, and it's kind of
And
funny.
bubble didn't exist too, like, and if it did, it was frowned upon. It's like, no, no, that you don't want that. It'll literally bubble because there's water in it, right? So it's like, oh, okay, no. And apparently the taste wasn't so hot either because they didn't know what they were doing. They probably didn't see it right. They didn't have French either to guide them. So God knows how they made it, but yeah, no, this was the real deal there from Afghanistan. The 7-year cured, what Frenchie was talking about there when he talks about the history of hash there, I lived it. Like that's literally what happened. And it really did get stepped on, and slowly the cures were shorter and you could taste the difference. It was, it's like, this isn't, where's that other stuff there we used to get? It's like, sorry, man, this is all we got. So it's like, oh man. So slowly but surely it disappeared, and it was getting more expensive to get the good, and there was always other stuff, but they called it the shit black there, the repress, somebody put something in there. And that's what I didn't like about that hash, is that it's easy to buff it up, right? You can put whatever you want in there and you wouldn't know. Whereas flour, I mean, you throw some parsley in there, you're gonna see it. It's not, you can't hide it. So yeah, that was the only disadvantage of hash. And even probably the good stuff was probably not that great. When you see them picking it off the palms of their hands there when they're making a charas, that it can't be the healthiest stuff there. A bit of skin in there and stuff. Their hands are ISO'd. Yeah.
Any cannabis trouble? Cannabis bring any trouble to your life earlier?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I got caught with possession, just possession. So it wasn't too bad. I got a year probation. So I just had to be careful not to let that happen again. I don't want to go in the court system. That's but I was young. It was before I was 18, so I didn't leave a record on a permanent record. It went away when I was turned 18, so that was good. Besides from that, no, I was luckily stayed away from that. Can't say I didn't, do a bit of hustling though, 'cause, it was mainly for convenience, because I've been through this, where "Oh, okay, man, I'll meet you at 2 o'clock," and you give them the money, and all right, I'll be back in an hour, and like 3 hours later, oh, well, I have to go back in an hour. So 12 hours later, the guy comes back with your money. It's like, oh, you're not serious, man. So there had to be a better way there. So I just figured, no, I'll just do it myself and take care of my friends, and that way there's never a drought. So I kept it simple, didn't go big, didn't try to get greedy or nothing like that. That wasn't really to make money, it was just to have it. So that's why I kind of got to see a bit of everything there, because I had a few good connections for that. But I didn't go big, and you know how it is when you start that there, and there's always all the other stuff that you can get into, and I had a lot of friends that did that, and it's like, nah, I don't want to deal with that there. But then it was more about the money. It was more about the convenience of just making sure I can still get it. And it gave me a better deal, or a same deal, same price, or at the same time, I should say. So yeah, so I did that for a little while, and yeah, the rest of the
Yeah,
pretty.
cannabis is. I did the same thing. It was kind of spun things a little bit just to keep things going. Well, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, I think everybody has put a few together to get one free at one point, I'm sure.
Exactly. Somebody's got to get it somewhere, right? So sometimes it's easier to do it simpler, and because I mean, God, there was some times there where it's just impossible. It wasn't worth the effort almost. It's like, do I have to do this again? And it's like, oh no, yeah. So yeah, I got sick of it too much here. It's like that, and I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way I did. So it's like, had to be a better option there. So. Convenience.
So did you think back then that could you have seen what today? You know what I mean?
Oh
Could you
God, no.
have thought it, or would you have seen today happening?
I still didn't know anything about, the endocannabinoid system or anything like that. To me, it was making me feel good, and, the hell with it, like it was worth it to keep going, right? Health wise and all that stuff. There was no reason for me to stop aside from the illegality of it. So, but then I heard about Rick Simpson there. That was, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s there. Rick Simpson's story, when he found out about his cancer in the face there, and he made the oil, and because he had heard something, right? So he said, shit, I'll try it. And it worked. So he started spreading the word, and so when I heard that, I'm like, oh shit. So I'm smoking that stuff. I never made the oil. I never made edibles. We used to make hash coffees. That's one thing we used to do back in the day, is crumb up a gram of hash and then, get a coffee going and dump it in there and drink it. We get pretty high, but we weren't decarboxylating it. It was partially decarbed, I guess, from the process of making it. But, you know, so it was half and half. We're getting a bit of THCA in there, But we did get high. We had to do at least a gram, So that's, I don't know, 30%, maybe 40% back then, the hash, So 400 milligrams. And that's not
At
decarb,
that point, I
so
think I think
maybe a
you were
half.
using it medical at that point. Didn't realize.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't do it often enough, but it was a sleepy body buzz. There was definitely a noticeable difference in the way it affected us, but that it was definitely more long lasting, Took longer, a bit like doing acid or shrooms or, they take a while to kick in. It's not like a joint, you smoke it, boom, you within seconds you feel it, But this was like gradual. It's like, yeah, I didn't feel nothing. But we'd always drink our coffee and then smoke the big joint, and so we're all high from that joint. So it's like, well, yeah, okay, I don't feel it. It's like, yeah, but later on, it's like a 6 hour buzz. I found out later, or if not more, and it takes 2 hours to kick in. So it's like, oh shit. So I had heard a half hour, right? We're giving it a half hour, and it takes a lot longer apparently. Gotta eat something. Actually, if we had an empty stomach, I think that would have been a better deal. Because I heard that your empty stomach, your acid in your stomach can decarb it. You can get high off
Really?
THCA. Yeah, to be
I've
careful.
never heard that.
Yeah, because if you take THCA and you got an empty stomach, it'll potentially it'll decarb it in your stomach, and you'll get high. So be careful. Eat something first, then do it, just in case. If it is something you do where you don't want to be high.
Think everybody else, including myself, heard eat on an empty stomach.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. It's gonna get it decarb, if you didn't do it right, or if it was underdone, then potentially that'll solve the problem. I heard that from Frenchie with his interview with Josh Alb. He's a chemist, and a really great interview he did with him on his YouTube channel there about all the, he's basically, he sees the cannabinoids on a molecular level. He has a 3D graphic representation of THCA in the CB connector, and he spins it in 3D there, and you see it. It's like, wow, that's cool, man. So yeah, he goes through all sorts of shit there, and that was one of the topics. Pretty interesting stuff.
That's
All right.
pretty cool. You're the second person. Well, I get other than the three that I'm getting ready to speak of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That actually consumed in coffee like that. I used to work with some Arabic gentlemen, and we all cooked, oddly enough, at a Greek restaurant, and that would be their morning routine. If we had time, whatever, we would sit and snap meat, and they would. I found this out months after working with them. After I guess I got accepted into the club or whatever, I guess you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
they were doing the same thing. They would make themselves some hot coffee. And I always kind of thought it was just maybe part of their tradition or whatever. You know what I mean? Because they would have each one of them had their coffee cups. They would all make it fresh, super hot, and then they would put the plate on there and let it steep. And
Nice.
they'd all be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and then a little while after snapping beans, they would just be in the bestest mood. And then after hanging out with them and snapping beans for a while, I learned they were all fucking had their hashish, and that just was their ingestion method. And
For sure.
shit, I had tried it once or twice with them, and definitely a great method of ingesting it like that. That's pretty cool.
Well, it's so much stronger too, right? It's like 10 times stronger, the COOH or whatever it turns into there when it goes through the liver. Then it turns into super psychoactive stuff, and you know what I mean? So when I learned about that, then I'm like, because I still do that. I infuse my coffee with MCT oil. You know, I infuse my MCT oil with, well, I used to do with concentrates there, like honey oil or rosin or whatever, but now I just infuse the oil directly with an infuser. It's the simplest method. It's like, why bubble hash and, you know, dry it and then press it to rosin and then dump it in MCT oil. It's like, dummy, just, you know, drop the weed in the oil directly. I mean, you're just gonna get to it a little more taste of the flower, you know, if you do it right. I actually decarb it after, you know, like I'll infuse it undecarbed, I'll strain it and everything, and then I'll run another run just to decarb it in the oil. It traps more terpenes. It's a little tastier. It doesn't taste as bad. You know, it tastes, there's more taste, but there's less bad taste. You know, just more terpene taste, less, you know, shitty flower taste. Because when you take it out of the oven there, you know, like it's, you vaped all the terpenes off it there in the oven, so now it's just the cannabinoid, the THC and all that, and that flower, the green, right? And that just, to me, turns my stomach. I couldn't do it. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way. That seems to work. Gets me high. I just squirt it in my coffee. Like it, you know, it floats on top there. I'll stir it a bit there, but it's basically an oil slick on top there. But it wasn't good. It's
I'm
a good
definitely
mix.
a coffee drinker myself. I actually learned lately of people sweetening their coffee with coconut oil. Just straight up coconut oil. I've never even heard of
Oh, the oil itself, yeah. MCT is like odorless, right? And it's like already liquid. It doesn't, it's not butter. So the coconut's got the flavor and the butter texture, you know what I mean? But yeah, I guess it would have a little bit of a sweetness, eh? That's cool.
trying to transition over into the tea myself, man. As I get older, man, I drink it black too, just straight black coffee. Isn't as good on the old stomach anymore.
Yeah. Acidic, eh? Yeah, it's pretty acidic there. But I like it, yeah. I drink the extra super dark there, so it's really like the least caffeine possible. So I'm not jumping off the walls. I mean, I'm smoking green crack. It's bad enough.
Right now. So that's the obviously the staple there. It's the green crack. Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was because I kept hearing, you know, like because I was smoking all these weeds that I didn't know what they were, and then after a little while, like just like you know how it went legal in Canada in 2017, I think. So maybe a year or two before that, I started seeing like commercial packaging. Like I was buying shatter, and then was in a commercial package there, showing you the terps and the percentages, and it's like, what the hell is this? But I didn't know that online since 2006 you could, you know, buy weed online and shatter and all sorts of stuff, and it was all medical. But you know, if you had your license, you could get it, and they'll ship it right to your door and everything. It's like, what? You know, because I was paranoid until it went legal. I didn't even search cannabis online. I looked at that Rick Simpson stuff there, but aside from that, I didn't search anything. I didn't go to High Times. I didn't do any of that heat score stuff. You know what I mean? That's too paranoid, I guess. I would have learned a few things like that. But anyway, so right around when I got those packages and I saw that, I'm like, what? So I went to their website and I found out about medical cannabis in Canada and all that, ACMPR, and oh my God, you know, I didn't know that. I could have had a license. I could have been buying hash from, you know, oh man, you know. So that opened my eyes there. And then when it went legal, well, then, you know, okay, Sample Fest. Now I knew about strains, I knew the sativas, I knew indicas, and I kept hearing this fuel, yeah, fuel and gas, and it's like, well, what the hell is that? You know, because I knew about Kush, right? Like the hash, all the hash was Kush, Master Kush, Pink Kush, all that smell, that signature Kush smell there, that's hash. That was the hash I smelled in the 80s there. That was that signature smell. I guess that's myrcene or whatever. I don't know there, But that was the smell. So when I'd hear like fuel and what the hell is that? And I never really smelt it until I got green crack. I got that. I smelled it there. I'm like, oh, that's what they mean. It smelled like high octane. Like I take 97 there, my motorcycle there, and it's got a little sweeter smell to it, if you know what I mean. When you smell the gas there, it's got a kind of a sweet smell. If you let it, leave the fuel side of it away there, there's a sweetness to it. They're like I don't know, it's almost like a perfumey. That's the fuel that I got from that. It's like a citrusy kind of fuely. So I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. A bit like Cool Water. You remember that perfume in the 80s or 90s? It's called Cool Water. It might still exist. It's just it's a perfume, but it smelled fresh, like cool water. Well, this weed smells fresh, like fuel. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but fuel is a good descriptor, I guess. So yeah, so I fell in love with it, and it's a great daytime. It focus. I'm like it feels like an enhancement. I can really keep my thoughts on the same subject and really get the job done. I'll clean the kitchen, at 3 in the morning there if I smoke at the wrong time. It just I won't sleep. It's almost like drinking coffee. It's almost like doing cocaine. That's why they call it green crack, I think. But maybe Snoop was right there. Yeah? I believe that story, by the way. Snoop named it.
So since we're talking about that first lump there, what was the first grow like? Describe, let us in on
Well, I
what
grew it
that
once.
scenario was like.
Remember when I said there that I got caught for possession? Well, I actually had a plant growing in my house. It was a male. I didn't realize it there, but it was a male. It was just a seed I found, and I dropped it in the living room, in a potted plant, and it grew out. So it's like, oh shit! So I scooped it out and I put it in a pot in my room, left it by the window, and it got really tall and skinny. Little, pods with the white, little flowers there with the dust. It's like, oh, I don't see no buds. So anyway, that was my only experience growing. And then fast forward to the day, it was actually August 5th, 2019. That's when I bought my tent, my blurples, and a buddy of mine gave me a 3x3 with his old blurple and all his gear with old nutrients and stuff like that. And he's like, here you go, man. It's like, okay, you know, first deal, it was a guy on Reddit, and he was supposed to send me some rooted clones, but he sent me cuttings. So I got an envelope with some cuttings that were in Kleenex, no roots. And I hadn't looked that up, man. Like I did my research, and well, I guess I should back up a bit there. When I knew I was gonna grow, I started researching. Well, how the hell am I gonna do this? Because I don't have much room, and my bedroom was basically unused. It was just my bed, and the rest of the room was just an empty space that I just was wasting there. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grow in my room, man. I'll fill that place with tents and get going. So now I'm like, well, soil, bugs, dirt. It's in my bedroom, man. So it's got to be clean. So now I was really looking at hydroponic, and then because I don't have much room, I didn't want recirculating and water spills. And, I'm in the basement too there, so flooding is out of the question. So I ended up on DWC there. I did my homework, and that seemed the simplest. A little more work, but easy to fix things. I didn't know too much, so I figured if I screw up, well, I can fix easy. That was my easy start, right? So I get the clippings, and it's like, oh man, I didn't, I was expecting rooted clones there, and they weren't rooted, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I watched all sorts of videos. I saw videos with Swami there talking about, oh yeah, he rotates it with the north-south. He grounds the buckets and everything with earth grounds. I had a copper pipe in my DWC bucket grounded to the earth ground of the house. I tried everything, bro. I swear to God. It took me almost 2 months to get them rooted, but they rooted, and finally got them to grow. I had 5 clippings and 2 made it. So I grew those out, took 2 more clipping, or 3 more, well, 7 more from that one, and 3 made it. So my second grow was 3 clones from the 2 first clones. So I got my 5, in the end, basically. So yeah, that was my first experience, and I was basically getting my info from like Reddit and YouTube videos, growing weed easy there and stuff like that. And at first there, and I was having a real hard time there. I was getting that claw, and I was taking fans off, defoliating, and realizing they're not coming back. So everything kind of stalled. I learned a lot of stuff there that, well, I learned that most of what I learned was wrong. So I kept looking for information, and then finally I heard a podcast, and it was on Growcast, and it was Dr. MJ Coco. It's like, oh man, he sounded really cool, man, and but he was like a professor, and he was science based, and he's like, and he's going through this stuff, and he's like, yeah, plants don't really work that way, and it's like, oh man, hashtag leave the leaves and stuff like that. So I learned so much just from that podcast that I applied what he told me, and I kind of looked it up more and applied it to my grow, and it really, changed everything. It turned it around. The claw was gone. I had my VPD in order. I had my temperatures in order. I didn't defoliate the shit out of it there. Um, I gave it a living chance, to make something of itself there. And so my second grow was, or my third grow was autos. And, it was two auto cheese, and one super skunk. Those were from QCS too. And all this is on DWC. They're in 5-gallon buckets. And the super skunk got super tall there. It was hitting the lights, and these were under QBs, right? So the first 2 or 3 grows were under QBs. The third grow is where I splurged and I went and got a Mars TS1000, and that was nice because now it was white, but I still had 2 blurples with that. So then I got a 240 watt QB that I got off of China there, off a DH gate. My budget was pretty limited there, so I got a pretty good deal there for the price. It was there were LM301H chips, or 3500K, and the IR and the UV. It did the trick. So now they're under white light, and the nugs got a lot denser, because I was getting hairy, pitiful buds there on the first few. So this changed the game there. And that first that I grew there, the cuttings there, that was a strain that a guy grew from Ottawa, I think, and he called it French breakfast. I think it was a breath strain or something, because after a long time of curing it, it started to smell a bit like peanut butter, which is kind of odd, and then cheese and super skunk, and then during that grow, that's when I joined Coco for cannabis, and started those green crack seeds or bag seeds. So that's when I started the journals and started slowly getting in with the community there. Like at first it was just the forums and my journals and stuff, and then I started chatting with everybody, and then COVID hit at the same time there, so we were all locked in there. So there was a lot of people, that were all in the same boat, and a lot of new people coming in at the same time. So, it's almost like it all happened for a reason at the same time, I don't know, maybe it was just my timing there, but we didn't have a choice. We had 3 months to stay home there. So the plants loved it.
Well, I'm glad you took it up, and I think everybody should be cultivating the plant. So I can't help but wonder why take DWC, and that's probably, in my opinion, the race car method. To be honest with you.
Oh, it
So
was a YouTube video of a guy that had both. He was doing soil, and he was doing DWC, but his video starts with him going around the whole room. He's like, okay, first, before I tell you anything there, all these plants have been started the same day. And he goes around the room and he's showing all the plants and he's showing, oh, this is a master kush and this is, he's naming them and they all look, normal. And then he pans over to the DWC one and he says, this is my DWC one. And it was 4 times bigger, at least 4 times. It's like, what? It's like, yeah. and he had a little, 8-part, how I got here kind of thing. And it was pretty simple. I mean, just mix your notes and blah, 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 airstone and change the water and, all that stuff. So it was basically the golden rule was, a week, change your water, keep the pH between 5.7 and 6.2. EC, within range for the, the newts you got there. As long as you do that, then you'll be fine. If something happens, flush the water, start over. And you were supposed to clean the buckets and the stones and everything. So it's like, okay, and that was because you can get pythium and rot and stuff. So, all right. So, it was a trade. Because at first I was going to do arrow, the misting there. But then I heard about the misters get clogged up with the newts, and you have to clean all that up, and it's like, yeah, I have to want to do that there. So it's like, okay, it's simple. Keep it simple, stupid. DWC, there's not, how hard is it to clean a bucket, right? So that was my thought, but then, shit, man. There's a few things I had to think of there, when the plant is growing, and you got to change that bucket, and it's like picture week 5 there, it's finished stretching there, you're at, your max for the light there, the light's all the way at the top, you took it as high as you could, you did your LST there so that it's not hitting it, but you're at the max there. What are you gonna do? You gotta lift the plant out of the bucket. The roots are at least the height of the bucket, right? So you gotta lift that out of the bucket. How are you gonna do that? Unless you go sideways with it. I mean, it's impossible. So I'm like scratching my head. Oh shit, I'm gonna do this. And at first I put a scrog. How am I gonna lift it in the scrog? Don't get that off of there. What are you doing? So I ripped it off a few days later, not thinking, it's like dummy. So it's like, oh man, how am I gonna do this? It's not gonna work. I have to clean the bucket. I'm gonna get rot. And sure enough, I did. I did an emergency H2O2 flusher with the roots there. I dunked them. You could see them fizzing and everything. It worked. I killed the rot, but it's like, okay, I'm not doing this again there. I gotta find something. And I had, advanced nutrients with the 10 bottles there, this, Sensizyme and Tarantula and all that stuff there. And it did do shit, man. I got raw like a MFer. But my water was real high, the temperature, right? You're supposed to keep it under 70. I was 74, 76, So I heard on Reddit, he's like, well, you can get something a lot cheaper. It's not made for cannabis, but it's the same stuff. It's the same bacteria, basically. It's called Ponzyme. So I'm like, oh, all right. He says, a lot cheaper. It's made for fish and ponds and stuff. It's like, all right, right on. So I get on Amazon.ca there and I look for it. And then I look on, I couldn't find it there. I get on Google and try to look for it. Oh, no, banned in Canada. You can't get it. Another thing I looked for was Dr. Zymes. Can't get it. Banned in Canada. It's like, oh, you bastards. So, okay, so I started looking for beneficial bacteria, and then I find this Aquascape stuff. And it was on Amazon too, so it's like, oh, right on. I started reading the reviews, and there's a few guys that was DWC, and they're like, man, ever since I used this, they're perfect. And my roots are white, and it's like shit. And it was like cheap. There was like $39 for 8 ounces. It treats 52,000 gallons. I'm like, okay, that'll last a while. It's made for ponds, right? I mean, how much water's in a pond? So I got that, and sure enough, man, my temperatures are 74 to 76 F, and my roots are white. Like you could eat off them. I swear to God, it's clean. So now, don't have to lift the bucket. Don't have to clean it. I just have to drain the water. So I drop a pump in the bucket, it drains the water. I do my flush that way. I just have to, so I scoop my lid over, I do my water fills or changes, and everything stays the same. The other thing is that I don't have to flush the water every week, because now the water doesn't get rotty, right? It's just more for the NER, because the NER gets out of whack there as it eats. It doesn't eat the same amounts, and So it starts to get to a little more of this and a little less of that. And, I fill it and I kind of replenish it. So that helps it go back. But after a while, you're just not helping it no more. And usually it's the pH. It'll drop really low. If you're dropping a 4 by the morning, it's like, oh, time to switch out the water there. So, but at least I don't have to, lift anything. The plants don't really move. So I could potentially scrog them, since I don't move them too much. Then I can get my water changed and get my lid scooted over. So yeah, I mean, now it's like lickety split. I don't have to work so hard to do the same job, cutting corners, and it's working.
So, like, can they hear it right? Is a little bit of a trade-off. You can use a little bit of the enzymes and run a little bit hotter versus, a chiller. Have to
Yeah,
go the extra route of the chiller.
exactly. The chiller is basically to keep the water cold enough so that the bacteria can't form. The pythium won't like it. It's like it's too chilly here and it won't form. So basically your roots stay nice and they don't get rot. But if it goes above 68, then there's a rot risk, right? But this bacteria, it literally eats it. It's food for them. And they apparently interact with, it's 8 strains. I don't know which ones they are, but there are 8 strains of beneficial bacteria. They're made to interact with fish, plants, and food. It's all safe for humans and everything. And apparently there's an interaction with the roots. So it helps with the roots as far as intake with the nutrients. And it helps with as far as what's in the, oh shit, my cat's outside freezing there. Can you wait 2 seconds there? I'm gonna go let him in.
Oh, absolutely. You take care.
Freezing up here, eh? Hold on, I'll be right back.
Cheers, everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying this episode as much as I am. That's currently 1222 here in Michigan. I love those names. I love it. What you got smoking on there, chat? Cheers, SoCal. Love you, fucker. That's the man indeed. Smart poker. Cheers to you.
All right, I'm back.
For cannabis crew.
Oh, they're all in chat there. Yeah, I'm not looking at the live there. I should be looking at chat. Yeah. Cheers, everyone there, man.
Distracted.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I know some people are great with that multitasking stuff, but me there, it's one. I like to pay attention, right? So you get my devoted attention when I'm, when you're talking to me, I'm not doing nothing else. You know what I mean? Because I can't. I won't be hearing you. So, yeah. I know my weaknesses, so I don't push it.
So, man, I appreciate that tip. And one other, you want to throw that out there one other time, that product? Because
yeah, it's called the well, the website is aquascapeinc.com, and it's a dry beneficial bacteria powder. I think you can get in 4, 8, and then super big jugs there, and it's really cheap. I think in the US it's $25 there for an 8-ounce jug. And I sprinkle it on like salt on your fries, like literally. I mean, a 5-gallon bucket. I mean, that little scoop, I think treats 160 or 16,000 or 1,600 gallons. Yeah, for one little scoop. So it's like, oh shit, that's So I put like, I swear, like you could count the grains. That's how much I put. So and it works. It works super good. So. It's like a miracle powder. Divine providence, or I fell on it because I was gonna ditch the DWC there. It was untenable, and I see why other people would too, because I got exactly what they did there. Those problems. It's that damn rot, the pythium, man. If you can get around that, then you don't have to do all that work that you're supposed to do there, which is flushing and cleaning and and the chillers and all that. That's it's just problems waiting to happen. There could be leaks.
It's a lot of extra costs, period, to run it, to buy it. If you can get around it, shit.
Yeah, so it's working for me there. And then one thing I was doing that was kind of dumb is I had my air pumps in the tent, so I'm blowing hot air into so I was really warming up my tents, or my totes, I should say. I got this really big pump there. It's a 1,750 gallon per hour, 12 outlet. So, you know, those big finned blocks there, and I had it right beside the tote. It's like the manifold itself was only a few inches away from it. It was boiling hot, so the hoses were boiling hot, the air going in. I remember in the morning just scooting the tote over and feeling the heat coming off the water there. Oh shit, that can't be good. So I changed that a bit there. I put the pumps on the outside, also raised them above water level. That was a nightmare waiting to happen. The pump fails. I have UPS systems for the air, so if ever my power goes out, my air is going to run, and no matter what. But I never thought of a pump failing, right? Because I mean, no matter what, it's going to run, so it's not going to leak, so it's all right. It's on the ground. But what if it fails, right? And so that had occurred to me eventually. Well, just recently, actually, I think it was Dr. Coco that actually brought it up. It's like, you should raise that. It's like, shit, you're right, you know, because if it fails, then it floods through the pump, and then you empty the 5-gallon pail into the tent, right? So, and that's powered, that thing. So that's water, the electricity, you know, everything goes out, then the breaker drops, everything's off. Yeah. So I'm glad I fixed that. That dropped the water temps a bit. I'm at 72 now, maybe 73 instead of 74, 75. Yeah. Few degrees up a bit.
Yeah, I've always wanted to run the system myself, to be honest with you. When I initially kind of wanted to run it, I first person I seen to run it was a hydro hybrid on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
He killing it. I mean, that was I started looking into that. It was around 2008, and he was running 1 pound or 1 plant under 1,000 watt light, and killing it, just killing it. And I thought, man, that would be so nice. And I still think, using that method today, man, you can crush it. One DW 5 gallon DWC bucket per 1,000 watt, and man, he was just big old colas. I think he was doing close to 2 pounds per light back then, and
Nice.
it was just admirable. You know what I mean? But I at that point was up in an attic space, uh, and it wasn't even feasible. It wasn't even feasible. Way too hot up there. I had already went through many medias just for weight purposes, and then that's one of the reasons I kind of looked into DWC was, it's like, shit, if I could slim everything down into a couple of buckets, but I couldn't, it was too hot. I wasn't willing to go that smile for chillers. But
Yeah.
man,
No.
I definitely seen the value in the system. Did you know what I mean? I can't believe a lot more production scale grows don't use it.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think some of them do, but I mean, it's the logistics on a big scale. I think it's not the same. It becomes a little more cumbersome, right? Because I looked at all different kinds. Like they were talking about everything was great, like the vegetables and watermelon. Everything was growing bigger. Everything was growing easier and better, and there was no lack of vitamins or you know what I mean. Like it wasn't hollow food there that looked real nice. It was just as it was more nutrient levels. It was it was everything was good about it. So it's like, well, shit, that's got to be good for cannabis too. Then you know what I mean. So I'm like, okay, I want production. I want the Ferrari, but there's consequences to that too, because if you don't if you're not there and you're not paying attention, things go south quick. Right? Like you'll see it, almost. I time lapse it, so I really do see it there. You'll see the color fade and it drops and it droops. It's like, oh, what did I do? Or the opposite, I can fix it and go time lapse it and see the next day and see what I did and did it work, did it perk back up, or did it, you know so that's useful to do that. I time lapsed it from the day I started Eagle, August 5th there, 2019, when I dropped the seed in there, and I started time lapsing. From that moment I have everything to today. time
That's
lapsed.
pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, a lot of it's on YouTube there. That's mostly what's on YouTube is the time lapses, and the walkthroughs are on IG there. But yeah, man, I'm glad I did it because it's a record basically, a really good one. You know? It's fun.
I've often
Yeah.
said those time elapse cameras in a tent there could be used to actually dial in your lights according to what your strain or your plant's doing there.
You see
So
them
this,
flop.
say
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
have it all on record. Yeah, shut them lights off as soon as you go back and look at that footage. You're like, man, they only need X amount of light, man. I should be shutting them down right there.
You
You
could
know,
see
but
the DLI. You see the DLI. You know what I mean? Some
yeah,
of them like a longer day, some like shorter days. Remember, I think I saw a video there where Mr. Faust or whatever there, and they were talking about, some different poinsettias, I think it was there. They're looking at the daily light schedule, and some will flower after 16 hours or whatever. And, oh no, I had a squirrel. What were we talking about? Shit.
using light for the DLI there.
Yeah, that's right. So different plants have different, light requirements per day, and potentially if you go too long, you see that droop before the end of the day, right? Like it seems like it gives up. There's like, okay, I had enough. And it droops down there, and then it keeps drooping until the lights go out, and then you see it recoup at night, and then slowly climbs right back up and super nice vigor right before lights on, and then boom, little droop and then back up, and she's like praying there. So you see that there, that's good day. They hop, they literally headbang. Like if I play at the right rate there, the plants are headbanging all the way up. Pretty cool. Which is that droop, right? It's that daily, nightly droop there, basically.
Would you be playing music that headbang too?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a metalhead, bro. I like your playlist, man. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan.
Yeah, enjoy some myself. It was funny. I should have said this to Rasufai yesterday. Uh, about when he was talking about the metal. My oldest daughter now, who is the one that's pregnant, bringing me the grandbaby. I'm kind of excited about that shit.
Hey,
Uh,
congrats on that there, Grandpa. Congratulations, bro.
thanks. So she's telling me the first time we're talking about the boyfriend or the daddy of the baby. He's been around now for a while. So, uh, what kind? He's in a band and he plays heavy metal music. And she plays me a little bit of what the band does. And it's a little bit of the death metal. It's
Yeah.
and
The
she's like
gore.
thinking it's yeah. She's thinking it's like gonna be like off-putting or something for me. I'm like, yeah, you know,
I want to hear it,
right
man.
on, right on.
Nice.
And yeah, she thought it was yeah, but yeah, it was right up my alley. Me and him get along great.
No, it's funny to think that, because I'm 50, man. You know what I mean? So I'm a 50 headbanging guy. I listen to Slayer. I listen to all sorts of shit. I can imagine my neighbors like, man, because I just, when we were kids, we used to, like, I guess make fun of that. Like, oh, we're gonna be 70, man, rocking it out there, with our gray hair and our pipes, and it's like we're there, man. Our generation is here, you know. The 80s fucking gen. I was a teenager in the 80s, man. 84, I was 13 years old. I lived it. Sam Dunn, man. You know, I lived his life basically.
It's a good time to be alive, man. We've been
For
kind of
sure.
talking about that. Things were a lot different, man.
Best
Music,
time.
everything was different. They were great times, man. Great
And my
times.
childhood was Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah,
Genesis,
I've actually
Pink Floyd, the Stones. My parents were young, so they were just coming off the hippie, thing. So yeah, man. blessed childhood, to be honest. Musically, there, I was very lucky.
So did you have sounds like you may have my dad, his buddies always had that once a week gathering where one guy, in this case, the major, this is actually his name, uh, would come over and he would always have like the new like album hip shit labels out kind of thing. Uh,
Oh yeah.
and they would fucking kick the kids out. And the fucking house would just fucking reek with weed, and they would just fucking blast that new album, whatever it may be, jazz, blondie, whatever the fuck it was at the time. But good
Uh,
times, man.
my uncle had like almost 5,000 albums there. He had an insane collection of like vinyl there. You know? He was a collector. Yeah. So going there to listen to music was wow. Yeah. The selection was insane. All the good stuff. Yeah. My dad was in a band. Well, with my uncle, the guy that had the albums there. He was the bassist. My dad was the drummer. You know. So I had a musical, bringing up too there. But my brother drum kit, and I had a guitar and a bass. Well, my uncle's bass basically it was one of those Paul McCartney violin looking basses there. That was pretty nice. And yeah, so I played around with that. Finally got into some audio recording there a little later on. Hanging out. It was a place I hung out there was always like it was a jam space basically, like a rehearsal space for bands that would jam in bars and stuff, and they'd go jam there to practice, right? So I'd started hanging out there, and then he had a board up and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, man," and he didn't know how to record or nothing. He wasn't an engineer, or nothing, but he had the gear. So he's like, and I'm like, "Shit, man." Yeah, I had a motorcycle accident there in 90, 92. So when that happened, my dad's like, if you want to do something there, I'll pay for the schooling. I'm like, Dad, I want to be an engineer. I want to do an audio course. So he did. He paid for the course, and he got me to an audio engineering course. So I came out of there with a lot of knowledge about boards and stuff, and how to do the whole process basically. So I went back to him, and I'm like, man, you got me going there. You influenced me, and I took the course. And he's like, yeah, man, right on. And so that was kind of the history, and I started doing stuff with them, and learning through them, and I got some gigs with some of the bands that were practicing there, and they'd come record at the studio where I learned. So yeah, did a bit of that.
It's making sense. It's making sense. Even Chet has said in several times, like, man, he's got a really nice speaking voice. It's very well suited.
Oh,
It's
maybe
making a
that's
little
it.
sense now.
Yeah, I dealt with a lot of people. So it was a great experience, to be in that atmosphere, man. Like the backstage atmosphere with the bands, and because I'd go see their shows and go do the live stuff, and you know what I mean. So that was a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of partying. So when you said, you like metal, it's like, man, if you only knew. Fucking right, brother. Metal horns all the way. That's why I always put that M with the two bars there. That's the horns, man. That's just my lazy horns. It's in the
Gotta
blood.
keep the rock and roll alive, man. Anymore, music today is kind of shitty.
Oh no shit.
I
There's
don't
nothing,
know.
man. Like
I
it's
think
coming
I'm being
back. I mean,
polite there.
it's all a bunch of comes back. Well, there's only one thing I would say that's good there in the new stuff is the dubstep stuff. I don't know if you heard that or dubstep, but it's like synthesizery, but it's kind of like low beat and they double beat it. You know what I mean? That's what they call it, dubstep, because double step there. And but that mashed with metal, oh, that's like a match made in heaven. because now they're blending all sorts of metal tunes with that stuff, and they really, you know, because you know how it is. Like back in the '80s, it was crunchy, but it wasn't bassy, not subwoofer like techno high tech bassy that we have now that we didn't have really back then. You know, so they can really jazz up a song there, and it's still metal. It's just it's metaler. Yeah, it just feels modern, right? That kind of music. It's like if I were to think of the future, what would music sound like? Dubstep. You know, some of it is a little annoying there, like you know, Flux Pavilion and shit. That they get a little crazy with it there, but it's always the same sound.
I don't know. For me, a lot of the newer music, say, what my kids would be listening to, uh, is so over engineered in my opinion. Like you can hear all the overlays, or at least I think I can hear all the overlays in it, and it just be kind of it becomes confusing or distracting if you're
Oh, they have that audio voice plug in there, so they can sing like that, and then it's gonna sound like Celine Dion, or you know. But when you go live there, good luck. They can still use it, but I mean, you know, it's not as great in real time. It's more of a software plugin. But I mean, it's happened before there where I think the plugin failed during the performance, and it all came out all you know all crooked and off key, and it's like oh, everyone's like laughing. It happens because they really can't sing. You know, most of it's not even their songs. You know, they're just singing other people's shit. You know, and it's all garbage. It's you know, I don't know. I haven't seen good stuff in a long time. You know, to be honest.
I think
I go
that
back
goes with everything these days. I mean, TV
movies.
right now is being recycled, movies, yeah, music. It's kind of disheartening. It's like, man, nobody's got some originality right now. I mean, come on, that's the way I see all that stuff. It's
It's a
man,
sad state of affairs, to be honest. There's not much, you know. They've destroyed the movies, you know. I follow a guy on YouTube there. His name is the Critical Drinker. He's great, man. I think he's from England somewhere, and but he kind of goes through all the movies and how they ruined them, and you know the whole woke culture and all that stuff. There, I'm on his side of the fence on that stuff. You know, I'm old school, man. You know?
so. Is there anything that's caught your eye or anything you'd like to be growing right now? Get your hands on.
Yeah, well, now I've actually got some nice strains there. I've got Hindu root beer from Kyle from Pure Breeding, which is a cool, interesting mix there, a cross. And I've got another cross that's a watermelon gelato crossed with a Mac V2, which is supposed to be Cap's cut there that he crossed himself. One of our buddies from Cocoa for Cannabis there, OC Grower 76. He sent us all some seeds there, so that this is a clone of a seed that I grew a while back. I kept it alive there, and now it's coming to fruition finally, and it's pretty frosty there. Like it's one of the nicer ones I've grown. So it's just a matter of seeing what the terps bring. I cloned her, so if it's nice, I got a backup. It's actually what's under the white bucket there. I don't know if you could see it. The two little baby clones that are struggling there. There's a bucket upside down there. They're under the bucket. That's my clone dome. It works, man. 'Cause the light's too close, right? If I had a clear dome there, they'd be cooking. But because it's white, it's reflecting through kind of evenly, almost like a photo booth. Yeah, where they put the white walls. Because I pulled the cover off, and they're super happy. It's like nice. Keep them there. Will they root? They're flower. They're in flower there. I took them in flower. It's gonna be a monster crop. Re-veg.
Do you run anything outdoor?
No, no, I've done everything in tent because I don't have any room outside, and being where I am, it's the seasons are way too short. don't think I could pull it off. Maybe an auto there if I started indoors, but it's too damn cold and I don't have no sun, to be honest. Too much in the city.
A lot of Canadian growers have definitely changed my mind on autos. And I've seen some of you guys produce boom farms for one. Some huge outdoor autos that are quite impressive that make me reconsider it a little tiny bit.
Oh yeah,
I'm not
sure.
spending the cash just yet, but they're a little bit reconsidered.
One took me by surprise there. It was a Amnesia Haze XL there. I did it over last summer. I did it for a spring auto flower challenge there. I'm thinking, okay, because I don't want to grow during the summer. It's too expensive and it's too hot, you know. It's too much of a struggle there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll do an auto. It'll be quick, you know, done quick. Usually it's around July, so end of July when it's done. So I figured maybe it'll be a little quicker, but it was an XL, you know, Amnesia Haze XL. I should have thought of that there. So it was 126 days. I harvested August 26th. It's like the whole summer, the whole heat wave, and then when it was time to dry it, it was still boiling outside. So I kind of over dried it a bit, you know. But I got almost 2 pounds. Well, almost. It was 1 kilo. It was 692 grams and 380 a larf. So over a kilo basically out of one auto. You know, it was a monster. But yeah, it was a haze. So
It's
I don't know.
pretty impressive. So how does an auto work in DWC? I mean, most of the time, from what I've gathered, the triggers are little things like stress and, when it hits the bottom of the bucket, shit like that. So when do they
Well, yeah.
explode
I I
DWC?
I had heard that because you see, I usually start them in 2 gallon buckets, and then depending on the root size, I'll flip them and then slap them in their 5 gallon bucket. But and so when I do that, the root's not touching the bottom, and it seemed to take forever for them to flower because the roots, right? It's not at the bottom, it's not. So I figured, you know what? I'm gonna leave them in the 2 gallon, let it really fill it up, and then switch it over to the 5, but flip it while it's in the 2, so it's all bunched up there and it feels like it's got a, like it's, somewhat compacted there. And sure enough, man, it seems to flower faster. Around the onset comes on quicker, it seems. And as soon as I see pistils, boom, I swip it over to the 5 gallon bucket, and she does her thing, and I'm good to go. And I got root expansion. You know what I mean? Because they never really stop growing till the very end there. They're always, even during the stretch, they're growing as much as during veg. So,
Again, another conflicting myth I guess I see here is they're light feeders. So how do you necessarily feed me now
I,
to
but I
DWC?
didn't really notice a difference. It was pretty much the same, maybe 100 EC difference, Because when I did those autos, the cheese and the super skunk, and then I did my green cracks went a little yellow, you know. They were a little pale there, so I had to up DC a bit. And that was based on my auto grow. So that tells me, yeah, a little bit, but not a whole lot, right? I'd say maybe 100 to 200 EC at the most. So if I was at 12, I probably had it at 13 or 1350 instead of 12. So something like that. But that depends on the strain too, right? So maybe my green crack was a little more demanding. If I would have done a different photo after, it would have been the same. It's hard to say. I gotta try them all, at least once. Then I'll know. Then I'll have an idea at least, because it's all blind luck there, right? Except for green crack, because I've been growing it a lot. I grew up 4 times, 2 seed batches and 2 clone batches, basically, from the seed batches. So got a few jars.
You got a long way to, especially at the rate breeders are breeding today, man. You got a long way to go before you'll try them all.
Oh, I know, it's nuts. And I thought there was like 700 strains. There's more like 7,000, and now it's more like 17,000. It's like, holy shit, man. Like, okay, gotta narrow it down to the top, the gold, you know what I mean? Because you'll never get to them, So don't waste your time on the mediocre stuff. There's too much good stuff out there to get, try. And that's the other thing is you don't know till you try it. So I was big on sample packs, getting mixed ounces there with a 3.5 of each here and just a little puff of everything just to smoke it, just to know, because you don't want to grow a whole plant and you hate it, It's like, no, let's be smart about it, right? But then again, sometimes you might not get the same pheno and it won't turn out the same anyway, so it really depends. They should send a sample with your seed pack, a little, little smokable sample there. Here's what you should get. Yeah.
That'd
Be nice.
be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Where you could smoke it, and it's like, meh, no, we'll put that in the drawer for later, Or yeah, I'm dropping this one now, kind of thing,
Careful what you ask for. Before long, they won't even be chucking the seeds. They'll be giving just what you asked for. You'll be getting the bud seeded in the tube. They won't even bust or count the seeds. It'll just be like, all right, there you go.
Yeah.
Free buds. You might get 10 to 15. You might get 5. Your draw.
I used to frown on those. Then I got those, those green CrackBabies there. It's like, man, that was a blessing in disguise. There's gold in them bags, It's just a matter of how it was hermied and, how what are the details, And for me, it was like, I was getting this stuff from the same place. It was always the same stuff. It was always really good and never a seed. This 1 ounce had 35, 40 seeds in it. It was exactly the same potency, same taste, same everything, but seeded. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to hold on to these. So as soon as it was time to grow there, it's like, oh yeah, that's contestant number 1. Well, first I wanted to try autos because I've never even seen that. And then I dropped those there. So I was crossing my fingers. I dropped 8 to get 4, right? Thinking regulars, right? Nope, I got 8 femmes. Oh boy, okay. Start growing.
Did you keep them?
I did. One hermed, thank God. So I had 7 and I grew them all out and they were delicious, man. So I repeated the process, did another 8. Those all grew out. So yeah, and cloned those. Did a double batch with that clone batch. Pretty good. Did a re-veg on another bag seed. I found a pink kush bag seed. Grew that out and it turned out to be delicious. It was exactly like what I had, maybe even a little better because I grew it. To toot my own horn, but I'm sure it was. And so I cloned that, but I cloned it too late. I took it in flower and it re-vegged. So I got the experience of seeing that there, which is really freaky there. I don't know if you ever seen it, but you see some really weird growth, eh? Like it just half leaf, half calyx, half, what the hell is this mutant thing? But it snaps out of it, starts growing normal. Takes a while.
Oh yeah, I've definitely replanted quite a few plants. I think it was close to 5 years ago now. It was the first time I actually re-vegged a bud. So I just took actually a bud, a little piece of leaf on it, threw it in the actually cloner, and actually brought the bud back to life. And,
Nice.
Watched it re-veg, which is a pretty cool monster crop after that process.
It must have looked really weird there. A full nugger re-vegging. It's been freaky.
Yeah, there's pictures on the Instagram somewhere still. It was
Cool.
the skunk punch, that a strain that I named for Med Grower One. Little ladybug friend. uh
I'll go
yeah, it
check
was
that out.
yeah, it was great fucking skunk beard by times banana punch was the strain. I think it was so delicious that I didn't, I ran it through. I necessarily didn't expect it to be that good, but it was that good. And so I
Last
ended up
resort
just,
there. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I don't blame you.
very last resort, as you say, too. Wasn't enough of the plant to re-veg. It was just down to that there bud. It was
You ever try
like,
a plant re-veg, like where you harvest it, but you kept the trunk and you try to re-veg it that way?
oh yeah, yeah. I think it's more of a difficult process, to be honest with you. More time consuming.
Yeah,
I mean, uh, you've got to be careful with your watering because it isn't using next to nothing. You have to be very light on your nutrition when you're watering that when the re-veg's there until it starts taking it off. Otherwise, you do risk the or run the risk rather of root rot, just kind of killing it off, drowning out that roots during the re-veg process. Where I found putting that bud back into the cloner and re-vegging that way, it threw roots in 7 to 10 days, and it was instantly from there on pushing through the re-veg phase. It saves so much more time and space than having one of these 10-gallon pots floating around trying to
yeah,
re-veg it
yeah.
that way.
Because I'd seen it done, and then I had tried it, but I screwed up. I didn't leave no leaves or nothing, no shoots. There should be at least a bud growing or something, some larf, right? But I, I forgot to leave a spot. There was one little baby spot at the bottom, but the trunks were, the roots were so big. That was my problem because in DWC they're just soaking in water, right? So they're in nutrients. I think it was 1600 EC or something like that. So it just started turning brown. It's like they're not being used, right? So they're just sitting there, and it's like, ah, man, they were starting to go bad, and it's like, forget it. I'll just get rid of this there because it's good. It would have potentially worked if I, really waited there, but it just seemed like a. But it makes sense what you're saying about watching how you water it because it's really not using nothing, right? It's just sitting there, kind of waiting for so well to change phases basically because it's in flower, right? So it's got to re-veg somehow. If it's got no leaves, how does he even know, right? It needs some kind
Yeah,
of a
it's best to
sensor, right?
leave a couple of shade leaves on it, minimal
Yeah,
for that re-veg.
because I don't think the trunk can sense light, right? I wouldn't know that it's in 1212 or 18:6 or you know what I mean. It would have to be
You
in
know,
18:6 to re-veg.
yeah, that's a good question because I was actually watching this thing unrelated to cannabis the other day, and they were talking about how a stump could stay alive for years and years and years just
Oh
from the
shit.
communication through other trees, basically
Yeah, yeah,
through
yeah, yeah.
uh, through the soil there.
I've
And
seen
it
trees
was
come out
pretty
of
impressive.
of, of cut ones, right? Like they'll grow out of the middle of a cut tree there. A little branch sprout out there and kind of regrow. So you're right. It must stay alive somehow there. What the hell, eh?
Cannabis is a fucking resilient plant. I mean, super resilient.
That's
I've done
freaky.
some shit to it, man. I've actually broke plants and trying to look just bend them. They've gotten too big. It wasn't necessarily low stress training or nothing. It just had to be done to
Yeah.
to fit my tent and shit, and might be a little woodsy, in the initial bend there, and it just break,
Snap. Oh yeah.
snap, and
Oh, ha,
there'd just
ha.
be enough of that fiber on it that to where I just went, okay, flipped it right back over so
Yeah.
that I've used that little piece of skin kind of like as a band-aid, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it can take right back off. It's like,
Nice.
holy shit, man, there's absolutely nothing holding that thing on there. But yeah, I've definitely put these plants through a lot of shit. And they always seem to amaze what the shit they'll come back through, even stronger most times.
No, exactly. It's like a big knuckle there. Like I snapped one just the other day there because I was pulling the pot up to kind of drain the roots here, and I hit the top of the light, and so I saw it hanging there, and it's like, okay. So I just put a little piece of masking tape, that green stuff there, just wrap the trunk like with a inch and a half or whatever there, just enough to keep it up. A few days, took it off, and there was a little knuckle there, a little ball, nice and solid. Probably the strongest branch now. Like it never missed a beat there. They really are resilient. There could be just a little hair there, and as long as you tape it back up, it'll rebond somehow. There, it's life that doesn't give up. It doesn't die. I like that idea. So when you chop it, it's really still alive. It's not It's not dead. All the functions are still going. It's got nothing to work with.
I sold that point to a lawyer here in Michigan. When at one point, uh, they're they're forever trying to fuck us here in
Uh,
Michigan.
Shit.
And they at one point the wording was so gray that they were trying to say discussing weight. Uh, Basically anything in the in between, you were over. I mean, instantly over because of the wet weight. So, and then when did unusable cannabis become usable and all that? And I argued
Shit.
the fact, just like you're saying, there was no in between. There's no in between. There, that plant is absolutely 100% alive until it's taken its last breath and is dry, and at that point, it's usable.
Yeah.
So, is there any unusable cannabis if you're looking at it like that? I mean, it's either alive or dead. And if it's dead, it's usable.
It's scientific. You know what I mean? The plant never dies, it wilts. So, in a court of law, that plant is never dead. It's always alive. It's just a matter of degrees of aliveness, right? It's 1% alive. Because it's still green, it's got moisture, right? I don't think it would re-veg, but it's beyond the point of no return. Yeah.
I've kind of argued that fact with quite a few people when we talk about the new ways we dry cannabis. I'm on board with trying all of it myself. I dry my cannabis different than everybody else's. I don't want to get into name drops, but I use a dryer machine. And a lot of people scoffed at it. I scoffed at it. I didn't think it would work, but it worked really well. And a lot of people wanted to throw stones at it. And after putting a lot of thought into it, it kind of reverts back to what we were just saying. That plant's still alive until it's completely dry, and then it's usable. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think that rushing that time up under certain conditions is ruining the cannabis at all. I mean, it's just a quicker preserve rate, and it's just drying it at the phase it was in. Now, if you're wanting a longer, I think that's the difference is between like a long cure or a long upside down hang is just that is the die time. You know, I
Yeah.
don't think necessarily it's the temperature and all of that. I think you've provided all the right conditions for it to slowly die out a little bit better. But
It's just the rate at which water leaves, right? Because the slower the better, they were saying. But at the same time, like, to be honest, I'd say that's probably the best cure, is the slower the better. If you could, gradually bring it down, like you don't want to keep it at 80, but at the same time, you don't want to go past your target RH, and you want to keep it there. So there's two parts, right? There's the dry, then the cure. So you want to get it to cure RH and then keep it there, right? So how fast is that choice? Like with Canatrol, and the way I was drying is the faster the better. not the 60-60, but more like the 68 max, you know, as far as temperature, and 55, 52 maybe day one, and day two maybe, then 57, 60, you know, for day three, right up to day five at 60, so that you end up with 60 on the bud. And usually that's, for me, the tell is I'll take a nug off the brand somewhere and I'll just bend it, you know, the actual nug connection there, that final nug, and just try to break it off. If it breaks off and it snaps right off, I think I went too far. If it snaps off but there's a little string, then to me that's perfect. Then I jar it up, check it with RH meters. If it's anywhere over 65, I'll burp it. Like I'll leave the jar open till it's down below 65. Then I'll jar it up, seal it up, Bovita pack it, and keep it at 62 and burp it every day for the first 3 weeks. And then do the if it's 62, it stays there and I won't burp it anymore. It's ready to smoke at that point. But 2 months is ideally how long you'll wait there. That's what I do. But with the Canatrol, it's even faster. It's 4 days and 8 days. So it's 8 days. So 4 days and 4 days. So 4 dry, 4 cure. And at that point, you can literally smoke it. And it burns perfect. There's no black, no nothing, but it tastes a little green, right? The chlorophyll is still kind of in there. It's just that the water's gone. But the chlorophyll hasn't broken down quite yet. So I think the idea with Canatrol was, it's not that it's cured and ready to smoke, but it's cured and ready to cure. In the sense that you don't have to burp it anymore. Like you went through your 3 weeks, or you got it to 62. It's not, chlorophyll's still leaving, so potentially it's going to off gas, but you want to burp it maybe once, you know, after the 3 weeks, and that's it. There's really nothing left to lose from it except that chlorophyll. So, to me, it took a little, like less time. Like it would be 3 weeks from the chop to get to the no chlorophyll taste. And with this Canatrol, I feel it was maybe a little less, like maybe 18 days or 15 days or something like that, like 2.5 weeks, and it was, chlorophyll taste was gone completely. So I'm definitely sold on it. It tastes better. It seems to preserve what's in there more. I don't smell it. Like when I pull it out of the Canatrol, like if I were to open a door before it's done, it smells green. There's no terp smell whatsoever. When it's done, I put it in my sea vault, let it sit in there. It still smells, you know, greenish. Never really any terps. It's a little deceiving because, but then I remembered about, you know, if you smell it, you lost it. So it's like, good, I don't smell nothing. We're good. Then, you know, final, break it out of the sea vault, put in my little jar there to drop down about 58 RH, break that out. And when you put it in the jar and you crumb it, you grind it, that's where the smell comes out. You smell the pile there, and it's like, oh, okay, nice. And sure enough, man, it's excellent. It's better than, because I didn't buy the troll for improving my cure. I bought it to improve the method. It was such a pain in the ass to get it to that, you know, to those parameters to dry it, right? And the tent and all that, and the temperature, especially if you had another grow going. I mean, you can't, I'm sharing a lung room, right? One needs 70 or 65 and the other one needs like 75. So it's like, oh shit, now what do you do? So either one plant's freezing or one plant's too hot. So obviously the plants that are growing are freezing because I'm not going to fuck up my dry, right? So it's not for long there, but still 5 days. So that saved me all that headache, and that tent is basically clear to keep doing what it was doing, right? Grow or whatever. I don't have to dry no more. Just it's a little smaller. I'm a little worried. I got 3 plants that are coming up there, and I don't think they'll all fit. So I may do a 1-day dry. That was suggested there in the book. It's like, well, you know, you might fit more if you, because the first day is where you get like maybe half the water out of it, and then, you know, a partial dry trim it there at that point. So it's fully trimmed, but it's a little drier, and then drop that in the troll. Then maybe I could fit 3 pounds instead of 2.2. They say 3, maybe even 4, and get that dried off. I don't think I'll have that much. It's 3 plants. Wouldn't be more than 3 pounds, I don't think. So
It's capable since it's controlling. It has a digital readout where it's controlling the amount of moisture in there.
yeah, yeah, it's dew point and it keeps it on a curve, and it's really like it's not RH, it's water content, right? So it's always matching what's in the air, and it measures it. So and it flushes it. So if it's too hot or too cold, it'll just mess with the temperature to make it so that it's always the constant RH. And I see it there. At first it's like 73, and then it goes down to 68, and then it drops down to near the end of the dry, it's down to 54, the RH. But then it drops back up. By the end of cure phase, you're right back up to 60, 62, depending on your settings. The default is 60. So when you pull it out, it's 60 RH. It's perfect. Felt 62 was a little too damp, even though that's what I use. And 58 was the perfect smoking RH, like brown sugar when you crumbed it there. A little moist, but not wet. So yeah, it's definitely definitely something I'm happy about, because now once I chop, I know it's gonna be good. I don't have to worry anymore. There's no uncertainty with the cure and the dry and all that, because that's the most important part, to be honest. You can ruin it if you do it wrong. I've been there.
Kind of like a controlled humidor, drying humidor, basically.
Yeah, yeah. These guys used to cure cheese, right? So, and cheese is a long ass cure. Like it's not just a few months or a few days, or it's months and years. So they had it down, the technology, and they just converted it over to cannabis. And so if you think about fine cheeses there in France and stuff like that, yeah, it's that kind of stuff there. These guys are connoisseurs, right? So they know what they're doing. It's not some fly by night. Oh, let's try and make a cure box. No, these guys have been curing cheese, man. Cheese is old world, man.
Yeah, I'm not a big on the long term cure myself. It just doesn't last. I prefer a fresher cannabis myself. Uh, I do. I haven't seen some nice cures, but to me, I'm just kind of trying to take it to a step that it's not. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't want it to
Uh,
get there, but it's starting to get there where, you got too much. So I still got some from my first harvest, which is like 14 grows ago. It's crazy. But I still have some, It's been there for a year and a half now, cured. It's changed. Some of them change, right? They'll literally change on you. So that's interesting too. Yeah. Science experiments.
it's unifying the terps. I think the whole curing process is controlling that off gas that you were talking about, but it's more or less a gym bag effect. All
Yeah, yeah.
individual terps that you would have noticed when it was fresher, you threw into the gym bag, and they all kind of off gas blended and then soaked back into the material
They
as a
melded.
common.
They say that about a Big Mac there. That if you make a Big Mac, you gotta let the flavors meld, which is kind of like combine, right? It's like, okay, whatever. Not the best flavors combined, but you get the idea. It's a bit like hash, right? The curing, it creates new terpenes, and they combine to create new stuff. So potentially they meld together to create new scents and smells.
Yeah, I'm right there on the hash thing too. Shit, the last time I washed hash, I yielded almost 8 ounces of hash. It sat right here until I smoked every bit of it. There's none
I remember you had that
left.
big jar there. Was it a 1 liter or
it
2 liter?
it was a skull. It was a 16-ounce jar. So
16, yeah. Nice, nice.
it's- I love that hash. It's overdue right now. I need to make some bubble.
I haven't done some in a while there. It's so much water, eh? I got my rosin presser, so now it's like, how can I get it quicker? I tried dry sifting, but that trim tray there doesn't do too well. So give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna take a shirt off.
That's another thing I'm kind of on the fence about right there too, brother, is squishing my nice hash into rosin.
Oh yeah,
Man, I'd rather like just squish the flour and get all the oils and everything that out of the bud, all the straight terps. You lose so much terps in the washing process. You
exactly.
know why?
Now
No,
the dry
well,
sift is interesting to me because there's not so much that loss, right? You get a little more terps out of it. I mean, some trikes are still stuck to it there. It'd be nice to do the flour, but at the same time, you get a little more waxes from the flour, so kind of a trade-off, right? It's a lot more rewarding to press the sift or the bubble because it's like, almost all of it's coming out there. It really does gush, right? Because the flour, you have to really load the bag to get a nice stream out of it. Yeah. My little 3.5, 5 gram bottle tech crushes there. I don't get the gush, there's not enough. I'd have to put it right by the edge of the plate there, kind of thing. So yeah, those are way more interesting to see.
so what's your main ingestion method? Or do you prefer joints, dabs? These
Yeah,
days, I guess.
yeah, I'm a joint roller, man. Because when all that stuff came out, then I, of course, had to try all the different methods, right? I got them all. I got a bong, I got a bowl, I got an e-nail. Um, what else did I try? I got all the vape stuff there. I got a rosin vape, I got a herb vape, and all that stuff is meh. I like to smoke a joint with a zigzag and smoke my rosin through ashes in a bowl, and that's it. That's how I smoke my stuff, man. And my edibles, it's my MCT oil infused to my coffee. It's pretty simple, easy to do. It's not super convenient, I can't do it anywhere but here, like for the ball there, because it's ashes. I mean, I'd have to smoke some weed in it first, so that I have ashes to burn through after. It's like a frame, right? And it's a kind of an old trick for other stuff there. I never did it, but I heard about it, and I'm like, oh, that would work good. And so yeah, it does. It's perfect. It literally melts into the ashes and you see it turn red. So basically, I light the rosin so that it melts into the ashes and the ashes go red, right? So it burns like when you're smoking your cigarette, how it goes red there? It literally it melts into the ashes and goes red. It's burning through the ashes like a frame, right? Because the ashes are still there. There's just nothing there. It's just a burnt frame of ash. But the rosin burns into it, doesn't destroy the ash. It's still that piece of ash, and it melts into it and burns through it like a filter. Because if you put it on a screen like a steel metal filter, it'll literally fall through the screen and into the pipe and onto the walls, and it doesn't really burn. If you really put the flame to it there, it'll kind of burn it off, but it's mostly a loss, right? So with the ash, it literally doesn't go through. It stays on top and it burns through. You don't have to hold a flame to it. You just got to get it going. And once it gets going, it'll burn itself. It'll fall into itself as it gets hotter. It's kind of cool.
So, how come do you usually throw the worms right in there? I like a good worm in my fucking joints. You ever just skip and throw it in with the flour?
Well, it's mine with rosin. It's hard because I use a machine to roll it, so I have to hand roll it if I do that, or else it'll get all gummed up in the machine there, and I can't get because I want the rosin on the inside, and I coat it. I coat it like honey oil. I used to coat my joints with honey oil there. I'd literally put so much, I'd have to put a second paper over top and then roll it. But you want the oil on the inside to imbibe with the weed, and it won't do that if it's between two papers. So I try to get it on the paper itself and roll it with the weed, but then you can't make it too big because, you know what I mean? You can't really roll it up there. It's all gummy and stuff. It's a
Oh,
tricky feat.
I use a roller myself, brother, too.
Oh, do you?
Always. Oh, yeah. So what I do, is, especially with that, if I'm rolling at like a hash joint, is I'll lay basically a nice little bed of cannabis in there, and then I'll take roll my or my hash worm, and then I'll lay it in there, and then I'll lay another bed of cannabis over top of that, so that worm's like directly in the middle, and then I'll fold
Nice.
her up, and then I'll just give her that one quick rip as fast as I can.
Perfect. Yeah, you don't want it
Yeah,
bunching to one
used to
side there, right? The least
we
you
used
move
to
it, the
burn.
less. Yeah, that's
That's a
perfect.
time. I'm with you though, man. Every time I see like the beautiful joints on Instagram, or the ones they want to study at the dispensary where they dripped it all around the outside and then
Yeah, it's like
rolled it into
that's
shit. I'm like, that's such a
paper's
waste of
airtight, man.
money.
Yeah, paper's airtight, bro. Like you gotta suck real hard on it when you're taking your toke so that the smoke coming off the outside gets sucked in. Or else, I mean, it's just blowing off in the
It's an
it's for
expensive
everybody else.
incense at that time.
Exactly. Looks nice. But I mean, no, it's gotta be on the inside. Paper's airtight for a reason. Like those what do they call them? They're moon rocks or whatever they're like they'll take a nug, they'll dunk it in honey oil and then they'll roll it in keef and okay, it's like good luck crumbing that up. No, don't put that in your grinder. Shit. You'll be picking it out for weeks. So it's like, no, I'll do my own
So
mixes.
it's, it's one of my other pet peeves there, DWC. Uh, is fucking the grinder. Oh, I hate the grinder. Oh man, I so hate grinders.
Need
I'm
need a
very much
solid
on the
steel
record
one.
to say they dumb down your meat. Oh, I've got it, and this is the best, and I modified this one.
Is that a
It's
Titan?
uh I don't know. It's just a regular. I bought
Oh
this
yeah.
at a tobacco shop. It's full of fucking weed right now. I should roll this shit. Uh, but I drilled that fucker out. That was a 5/16 bore right there.
Nice.
Compared to when despite saying that fucking grinders, I don't. Oh, I even drilled this one out. I can't even show you
Nice.
that. These, I guess the outside holes, they were like right there. There's like, if I fucking flip it around, right
Yeah, I can see
between
him.
on the high spot, you can see one little hole. So I went and drilled these outer ones as fat out as I could, but they were all like that size to begin with.
The little
And
baby
then I
one there.
went
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah. Shit.
Uh, yeah, I can't. That I think it's a turd killer for one, and then you're grinding all your fucking trichomes up and you're catching them, in the key catcher.
Yeah.
So it's dumbing down that thing you worked so hard to grow and at as high a strength as you could grow it. Why do you want to go backwards? And it blows my mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then
first thing
I'm
I
a
take
chunk.
out.
I've always been a chunky joint guy. Even back in before I roll, I can roll a good joint, but they seem to fall apart for some reason. Grinder or no grinder, fall apart. But I can use that roller and it'll stick every time. But I just feel it keeps the bud a little bit more the way it's supposed to be, keeps the
Yeah.
terps there, keeps everything there. It burns slower. It might look a little shitty, but it burns slower.
Nice.
And zero. It's your product, your flower. You do with it as you wish. But,
Yeah, I got a Canatrol one there. Well, they sent me a hat and a grinder and stuff because I had a little hose problem there with the back of the unit. And it's like one of those coated ones there, like Teflon or whatever. Then I realized why, because it's gonna be really terpy and sticky and stuff. So you better have a good grinder because you're gonna be, it gets there like it's so terpy that you grind it and it's still all in the grinder. You gotta whack it with a hammer and it's still not coming out. You gotta brush it out with a little brush or like those little trim trim tray brushes there. I usually use that to clean out my grinder because my weed's too damn sticky. It's all over the grinder. It's like, how do I get it out? I'm whacking it so hard, it's pieces of metal are coming off it. Oh man, it's a good problem. I like that. That's a good sign. It's a good weed. Super damn sticky, but it's useful. You need that non-stick stuff. So you can't really clean it. If you do, you got to be real careful. You don't want to use a razor blade and start scraping all that non-stick off there. If you're a
better,
collector.
more reason for them scissors, brother. Shit.
Yeah, man,
You
old
can,
school.
as it builds up on the scissors, man, you just take that razor blade. Got some nice scissor hash you add into that joint as it builds up. You're
Sure.
adding again. You're adding to it. You're not taking away from it. You're throwing it right back in there. This is delicious.
It's like making hash, instant hash. Insta hash. That's what I like about the trim phase there. It's like some instant, gratification. Because usually you gotta wait for the cure, and it's like you're not gonna get to taste it right away. Even if you do, it's gonna taste green. But those trikes, though, when you're done trimming there and you give it a good little shake there, that golden powder there, that's very tasty, and it's ready now. So I really enjoy
So I
that.
take it you're a dry trimmer. Are you a dry trimmer? Is that what I'm getting?
Yep. Yep. I like I said before the Canatrol, I was basically letting it dry till at least at first it was till the 5th day and I dry trim completely dry. But then I started trimming on day 2. Let the plant go limp. I'd hang it whole with all the fans, not take nothing off. Day 2, I'd go in, strip it down, try to get everything off by hand. Day 3, full default by hand. No scissors if I could. Like a finger trim, I guess. And that was the final trim till she was dry. Then dried trim what was left, and it was really not much because I got most of it in my fingers. But then that finger hash that I made from that, holy shit. Nice little ball because I'd do it on purpose there and really rub the leaf and get all the trikes off, you know what I mean? As I was trimming it. So I kind of collected a bit of charas that way. Made a nice little ball. And then day 5, well, there wasn't much left, but after trimming a few plants, there's a nice little pile of beige under the screen there. So gather that, do a bowl, super tasty, man. And then all the trim, once that was dry, sift that. That made a nice little ball of hash too. So that makes super nice rosin. Really nice, terpy. It's terpy enough. You don't really need to press it. I mean, if you were just apply a bit of heat, turn to hash like Frenchie's hash.
Yeah, good sift. You should be able to fucking put in some parchment paper, fold it, and give it the old Indian burn.
Yeah. Or the palm tester where he says just take a little bit in the palm and kind of press it for 30 seconds. If it comes off all gummy there, you got good stuff. That's what I want. I want the good stuff. So far, so good. So the hash I remember was, pretty good, but still it wasn't, I think it was more that 7-year cure that made it good. Not because it was super high quality hash to start with, right? Although it was, but not like we have now type thing. I don't think anyways. Because now, if I were to make the same kind of hash they used to make, like Frenchie teaches to make, not with the bubble, but with the actual traditional way of it, I'm not sure how they do it, but it's like a dry sieve hash, a bit like the Morocco way there, where they do the drumming on it. Yeah, exactly. So it's a dry sift extract, and then they hash it up with water and heat. And yeah, man, if I could do that process with this quality of terpene, hash that or weed that we grow, my God, that would be way, way, way better. Well, rosin is that basically, right? It's the new hash, super hash.
I enjoy me some good hash, but I enjoy full body like Frenchie hash. press,
Yeah,
something about it, more full body.
it's that long-term cure, right? Those new terpenes he talks about there, that's on, you know, you can't, they come from nowhere. Like they didn't exist before, now they're there. So that is something special to, yeah. There's something to it, you know. The reason why they did it.
So, do you do any type of manipulation during the flower phase? Are you having defoliar to do a little bit of
Well,
super cropping, 3 weeks there?
yeah, I've done a bit of everything. Like at first I wouldn't top at all. I would just LST, do a lot of training that way. Super crop if I had to, if it was really stretching there. As farthest I've done super cropping was in week 5 of flower. Legs were set in and everything, and she was going to get way too high there, so I just snapped her. And she bounced right back. I didn't tie it down. It bounced. It straightened right back up, but it took a bit. So by the time it straightened out, all the other ones caught up. So it kind of worked out. Yeah. But I was worried because you know what they say after week 3 there, it's you're risking it. She might stunt and you know decide to not grow anymore or whatever. But that was all right. That worked out. Then I started topping, and holy shit, now I'm never going back. Node 6 or at the most, I'm topping to 3, and I'm keeping all the nodes, or sometimes 4, depending there. If it's a clone, I'll keep 4 nodes. I call it the crack line. Top it at 4 there and keep the last 4 nodes and train those out. Yeah. Or 2. 2 or 4. But in flower, yeah, like there's not much else I can do. For default, I was big fan of hashtag leave the leaf there. So I try to leave as much as I can. I'd never take anything off the top of the canopy, like no fans at all. And then at the bottom, well, the bottom third would always be cleared out there for ventilation. But then, you know, you try to not get some leaf on leaf. The inner fans, inner pointing fans would be removed and stuff like that. But then, you know, started getting issues with PM and stuff like that because it was pretty crowded and my RH was too high. Even removing the right amount was still, you know, too much. So now I'm doing a little more default. You know, you can the light gets through the canopy a little more than it used to, but still more leaf than most, I guess. It's not schwazen by any means. More leaf than not enough, I'd say. But it's really for that. They're for the RH. That's what scares me the most.
Yeah, I'd like to defoliate myself. I'm becoming more and more of a fan. Quite the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
Quite the
Well,
opposite.
the plant seems to be able to take it. You know, like it didn't change nothing. And in a sense, like it was really bushy, and then I debushed it. So I figured, well, all that bush had a lot of root to support it. That root's still there. So maybe it's still got somehow the energy to proceed and put put more, but instead of, well, see, the leaf is providing energy, it's not taken away, so it's always a loss. It's just a matter of, you know, preventing other problems, right? Like rot and mold and PM and stuff. So, but I don't know. There's different thoughts. There's other leaves, are there other places that don't get seen that now get seen, but you know, they were in a different phase of life, but now they're in the light, so they'll switch and they'll change and they'll absorb the light now. They'll be direct sunlight leaves, but they weren't at first, right? So there's a little loss, but it'll be regained, I think. It's just that, you know, everything at the top is closer, so it's inverse square laws. The lower you go, the way it's not just double. Like if you double the distance, it's quadruple the effect. So you want to keep the light and the leaves on top there because the leaves that are lower aren't getting as much. And if you want them to get as much, the ones at the top are going to get too much. You're going to burn your tops and you get bleaching. You know, you're going to stop photosynthesis because it's saturating it. It's no longer doing it. And now the bottom ones are, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And once you understand light, Dr. Coco is great for that because he really makes you understand it. The icing on the cake, right? You want your icing to be even. You don't want it to be too thick. You don't want it to be too thin. Just perfect, right? So, yeah, I'm becoming an icing specialist. Get a parameter, man. That's the best way. Oh, you know.
But the plants definitely use the LED light, I think, differently these days. The wider spectrum, little bits of green there. I think seeing the plant just utilizes that energy. I don't think that you need as thick a canopy across the top. I do believe they penetrate a lot deeper for one. And I find that even if I don't clean up that lower area, that I'm still ending up with nice lower nugs under the LED lights. So I don't know. And again, I kind of feel at some points the leaf just overgrow and are using more energy than they're actually putting into the system. So I think it's myself. I find it more beneficial to pull that energy off and let it come from somewhere else to be used somewhere else.
Well, see, that's what I learned from Doc. Is he says that it doesn't work that way. It's not a sink. A leaf is never taking something from the plant. It's only giving it. So when he said that, I'm like, oh, okay. So even if a big leaf is not getting light, it's not producing energy as much. It does have food stores. So there's no real good reason to get rid of it unless it's too humid because it's breathing. It's creating moisture, right? And that's not a good thing if you got too much. So if you don't want the RH, you get rid of the leaf. It's not gonna hurt it in the sense that it's got less energy to play with, but doesn't mean it needs it, right? Plants are great at storing energy, and that's what they do. That's what those leaves are. They're stored energy. And from what I heard, the leaf will always provide. It won't take away. So you're not redirecting energy from that leaf to some other place on the plant. You're actually taking away the potential of that energy. The bud sites, that's a different story, right? Like the growth tip, that's a sink. That's sucking up energy and it's growing and it's getting bigger and it's using everything the plant has to offer. The plant's trying to grow every tip, right? So, like you said, if you got enough light and you leave all that larf and it's got enough energy to supply them, they'll all get fat, they'll all mature, and you'll be good. It's just a matter of how much light versus nug sites you have. I've experienced that because I was really bad on the tip removal. I do it once and then after stretch I didn't do it again, and so what seemed to be high was actually all the way down, like 12 nodes down. It's like there's no way that's growing. It's tiny, and sure enough, there was too many sites, so they never grew out. But then I've done it to a bigger plant where there were, it was kind of the same ratio, but there was way more surface and leaf and stuff like that. So they had more energy, much bigger root system and all that. So they all got big. I didn't overdo the nug sites. So I think there's a comfortable balance. It's just a matter of how much roots you got, how much light you got, and how much bud sites for those two things, right? So that was one big thing about the leave the leaf there. That's why he has the hashtag leave the leaf. There's no good reason to remove it. It's not taking energy from the plant. Apparently that's biology. So there's got to be a good reason why, right?
To each their own. I've ran these plants for 20 years now. I've had some amazing yields. I've ran it, deleafing, not deleafing. I'm happy and pulling some off. I'd rather have the aeration. Because I'm a tent grower, I don't necessarily like the extra spike in humidities when I close up the tent. If there's going to be problems, they're going to show up first in the older leaves. So why not get rid of any pests or problems that may be hiding or harboring in them older leaves. Just get them the hell out of there. I'd rather have the airflow.
Good point. Good point. Absolutely. There's definitely reasons, right, to do it. And those were all good reasons. Not necessarily because they're taken away from its energy, though, right? It was more about
Well,
saving
again,
problems, right? Because if there's a
well, they're
problem
just
and it's going to happen, it's going to pull energy from that leaf and you're going to see a deficiency and it's going to go yellow, it's going to go orange, it's going to, rust and all that. But if that leaf's not there, it's going to happen to another leaf. So
well,
it's
then basically
better.
what
They're like
my
indicators,
thought
right?
in that is, again, they are pulling energy and they're storing energy, but again, they're using more than a younger site could use. So it's if I'm limited in my pot necessarily here because I'm not feeding constant schedule, I'm trapped with what it's already in my pot, basically. I don't necessarily want them bigger leaves hogging up any energy that I could be pulling through. I want that all to go to my new flourishing bud sites. Everything that's new and popping, I want that to have all the energy. I don't want it to be kind of being siphed off by that big old fat leaf that's just kind of
I think I
taking
see
up
where you're going with that.
space and
The water,
you know
right? The nutrients, what the plant takes up, then potentially, yeah, you're right. That leaf needs water. Needs, it's pumping water out. It needs that water, but that's not
I mean, if I'm
necessarily
keeping them there
energy.
for necessarily nutrition, the nutrients are mobile and immobile.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
they could,
Some won't move.
I'm not keeping them there for that necessarily reason, because if I need them down below and it's an immobile nutrient, then I'm
Yeah, that's a
trapped
good
again
point.
with what I'm pulling up through the soil.
It's putting it there in the first place, and if it's not mobile, then maybe not putting it there would have been a good thing in the first place, right? Because the mobile nutrients are good to have there because if something happens, it'll go pull them out of there. And that's where you see those deficiencies. They'll happen on the bottom leaves because something at the top needs it, right? And it'll pull it out and you'll see it. And if you pull that leaf off, it'll pull the newts out of the next leaf that it thinks it could get rid of, right? So the plant knows it'll do it on its own. I've never defoliated some of them and they just defoliate themselves. They'll just fall off and die. So that's maybe because I was doing something wrong, or it's just because it doesn't need them. I don't know. I'm not sure how the plant decides that stuff. If it's because of an environment thing, or because it knows it doesn't need it, or you know what I mean. That I'm not too sure about because I haven't been growing long enough. But that was one of because I've
So
seen those arguments, right, about the fans and the defoliating. Oh, I don't want to. The energy's it's gonna take away the energy, and that's what Dr. Coco says is that no, man, it's not actually taking energy. It's only supplying. A leaf will never take energy from the plant. It will only supply it. So if that's the case, that kind of changes everything, wouldn't it?
well, yeah. I mean, it in order for the leaf to grow itself, it's got to pull out the nutrients. It's got to pull the nutrients for it in itself to grow. I would think.
Well, see that's the thing though is the nutrients are not the food. The plant feeds on light. Light is the food. So the leaf creates the light, creates the food from the light. So the energy comes from the light, and the light can only be harvested from the leaf, not the roots or the nutrients. The nutrients are like vitamins. They help the plant create that energy from the light. So
One
like,
of the reasons why I kind of use it too is I use it for I try and again, this is all in my bro science citizen. I don't like the bro science. I prefer more the term that they use in mushroom pharmacology is citizen science.
citizen science,
My
I like
my
it. I like it.
uh uh I'm using it more as as manipulation as a control technique.
Yep, yep.
So in flowering, uh say week 2, 3, If in my I have an area like this, okay, a branch coming off the main stem. At that point, if it's shooting up, it's higher up in the plant towards. I don't want that leaf right there necessarily being that gas pedal for that branch.
Oh
You
yeah,
know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want to fucking snap that thing down. I want to slow it down, and then I figure what's already on that branch, that bud, that's its own little community at that point,
Absolutely.
man.
Tell you what,
Yeah,
Tao was talking about that. He came on our Sunday show, I think it was there, and or some sun were snowed in or whatever, and he came on and he was talking about that how taking the top leaves from those top colas was kind of like the oxen thing. It defeats the whole oxen prioritization of that cola. Instead of having to bend down the cola and snap it or whatever, if you take the fans off the top of that cola, like you're saying there, that one that's a little higher than everybody else, it'll slow it down. Everybody else that every other cola that has fans and stuff will actually have more energy to catch up, and that's kind of a way to counteract that oxen thing. Because if it's higher, it's the top leader, but if it's got less leaves, it's got less energy to be able to perform that top leader function, and it slows it down. So in that sense, yeah,
forces the
that
plants
makes
to
sense.
create sugars too,
Yeah, yeah.
dries up the bricks a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. I was looking at. It's funny you say that. I was looking at refractometers today on Amazon there to go see the sugar levels, and because apparently there's a certain level you want. If it's there, you're good.
I think for
The plant
cannabis,
can't
I
get
think it's right
disease.
around 13 for the
Yeah.
bricks.
If it's healthy and it's sugars, it's gonna have no disease, apparently, or it'll be most resistant to them. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
you
is
ever
interesting.
Harley Rakes uh, is somebody to find in the cannabis community. He provides the individual NPK, I think is his line. But
Okay.
it's his drum he always beats is keeping your bricks high in the cannabis plants for
Yeah, it's a
not
new term
solid
to
food.
my lexicon there, but it's very interesting. I can't remember which one, which it was one of the FCP shows there, but they were talking about that, the sugar levels. Oh, it might have been that older guy there. He was a 72-year-old. He went to Cambodia, was in the army. He's talking about the Cambodian red plant there, like a tree that 26 years old plant there. It's like a perennial, never dies. I mean, wow.
Another
You
benefit
know,
I find in the flowering processes, I think some of us you do it for to be a little bit lazy during the harvest is stripping them clean like that and within the last week as much leaf as I can get off of there for the stressor of it. Yeah, it does
yeah,
sure make my harvest that much easier, but it's another stressor for terps and trichomes. I find I'm a big fan of stress in the last few weeks of
yeah, it makes sense. Eh?
harvest there.
Like a natural, like deer coming and chewing on them there, and it's like, oh, life is coming to an end there. You better terp up or whatever. Maybe it's a defense. You know what I mean? For the wild animals to not eat them or something. I don't know.
I don't like to staking it. I don't is usually a last minute type thing for me. And again, people would probably roll their eyes at that as well. But a little bit of root pruning, shoving that stake in there, I don't think it's a horrible thing. I think
The
it's
drill
more
bits and stuff.
beneficial.
Yeah, yeah,
Nah, I ain't
no,
going
why
that
not?
far, but
Why not?
as you can see behind me, man, them plants are good size. You don't see no stakes in them girls.
No,
But
man,
as
you
they,
don't need it.
you get some nice big buds there, and then branches start to do this. It's the
Yeah,
same stressors that I'm looking for by the heavy defoliation there towards the end.
yeah,
It is until I see them like start, they get to the point where I know that branch could snap, then
yeah,
I'll actually get in there or the or I actually see the structure of the plant itself is just too flimsy to where she's going to collapse on herself
yeah,
after
yeah.
a certain point.
I heard green crack
Them
was like
their
that. Thin
them their
branches, big
strains
buds.
are scroggers, in my opinion. Them are the girls that actually need to just be grain straw. Really glue.
Really good
Really
guy.
glue brings me that to that mind. She just gets them shoulders that get so flimsy. It could be a tough girl.
Tubular branches there. Yeah. Whatever. Pretty hollow on the green crack there. You know, if you do the super crop, you gotta be careful. You gotta mush it up good because she'll snap on you. She's so hollow. It's like a McDonald's
So
straw.
the organic voice would tell you that the tubular branches there are a deficiency. What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's strain dependent. I think it's
I
a
do too.
hereditary thing. You know what I mean? Like it's just genetic. Because I have had some
I,
that were solid, like there's no hollowness. There's a little pinpoint, little needle dot hole there, whereas one is the hole is bigger than the thickness of the branch. You know, it's more hole than branch. It's hollow basically. It's like wow.
I find them strains to be more narcotic, to be honest with you. Very fucking sedating.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
a trait that I find with those in particular strains.
I think it's a sativa trait or a heat trait, like a cactus, right? A cactus is hollow on the inside to survive that heat, keeps a lot of water on the inside, so maybe that's what it is, or that wall that the you know, because it's like a membrane. I got a picture of it there where I snapped a branch, I cut it real clean, and you know that white stuff in the middle, like that hole is actually much smaller, and there's like this white foam there on the inside. It's really mucus looking there, and it dries up really fast because it's basically like a sponge. But that's where the newts flow through, and I have a feeling that there's just more of it. Like it's a thicker, more humid carrying part of it to keep it either cooler or wetter, or I don't know, but maybe more tolerant to heat. I don't know. Whereas those thick, solid branches, they're probably from like the Himalayas where it's freezing all the time, and they're you know they're the opposite. They want to stay warm, and so they're all tight, not much water in the branch.
So, do you ever see yourself giving into the organic soil movement?
Oh, as soon as I have land, bro, I'm going live soil. Like I'm a big firm believer in remediating soil. I mean, obviously they're destroying the planet with salts. The plant like the land can't take it. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about what 3 years? You grow crops on a field after 3 years, the land's dead. You have to basically start. Well, it's gonna be sand because the life is dead, right? So it's like, yeah, we gotta stop that. Indoors, I get it, you know, like you grow through cocoa or whatever, you know. But outside,
I'm
shit.
actually kind of concerned a little bit as far as regenerative soil and organics, and from the impact that cannabis could have in general. To be honest with you,
Can turn it
I've
around.
only spoke of this a couple of times, but it is it is a huge concern of mine, and I think it's going to have a big environmental impact. I mean, you start taking all these farmlands that are growing corn, wheat, all that now, and you have the wildlife that is used to being around that environment, and then you get all these people that now want to make a buck or just don't see the value in the two, apples for apples, orange for orange. I want to cash the crop. uh what kind of environmental impacts is that going to have on the deer, birds, land in general,
Exactly.
when the
Nothing
crops have
nothing
been
will grow
changed?
there. Nothing will grow
Huh?
there. That's the thing. What are they gonna do after they're done, right? Because after a while, it won't work no more, right? Then what? I mean, it's sand. It's you're creating deserts, you know?
I
It
mean,
took
even at
millions of
that, I
years.
mean, these types of plants depend on, bees and stuff like that,
Mhm.
pollination, to even make the whole thing work. And then you turn around and you go plant sensibility cannabis that doesn't need to be pollinated. Uh, I think that will have a big impact as well.
True. You gotta have some males. Gotta have some males. Apparently, the bees they like that male pollen there for some reason. They're not supposed to, but they They like it. I heard.
It'll be interesting to see how, because the regenerative thing and is so big right now. So it'll be interesting to see if they don't heed these type of warnings that are being thrown now. Uh, what kind of once money comes into it, what kind of impacts it will really have on a large scale.
I really hope they. That's one thing that they should potentially regulate is the salt use on land. It should be all live soil composting. I mean, we got tons of garbage, man. There's no reason why we can't just create a massive compost pile there and just create land and remediate the whole planet, man. It's self-sustaining. It doesn't, what the hell we're destroying it. Took millions of years to create that topsoil, man. We're just killing it. It's stupid. It's quick. It's efficient. I mean, I think they were talking if it wasn't for salts and nitrogen, we wouldn't have been able to feed the world, right? But I don't know. Maybe there's some bullshit to that. Because I've seen nice grown stuff in live soil, and it's grown just as nice as if it was in salts, right? Maybe not as fast, but
I
just as good.
I've read a few books that kind of beg to differ that whole argument, though. They say that that whole salt argument's kind of uh was a ploy to make money. They say by the time that you actually do the math for the energy for the tractors and all that bullshit to feed the cycle, you know what I mean? Uh, you'd have been better off just having small scale farming, natural farming.
Yeah, because there's a
And
massive cost, right, to create that nitrogen in the first place. So it's like,
yeah,
hello,
yeah.
where'd that go? Yeah, it's in the air. It's destroying the environment. So I think it's fossil fuels they use to make it. It's a high energy cost to make it. So it's like shit. I don't think they factored that part into it. And their faulty math. Marketing probably came from marketing. Evil science.
So, do you ever plan on stepping up your game at all, as far as like dipping your feet into breeding? And there seems to be small plateaus. I think everybody goes through in cannabis, and I hope everybody kind of takes their time through it. Is that on the list at some point?
Oh, it's definitely interesting.
Purposeful breeding, I guess I should say.
Exactly. It's just a matter of room, right? It's pheno hunt, right? Chuck a bunch and pick out the best, and then I mean it's a long process, and there's a lot of plants involved. So that to me, spells farm, right? Greenhouse, something like that. That kind of setup, definitely gonna throw my hat in there, and not just for myself, just to see what I can grow, and if I can benefit the community, well, so be it. But just out of sheer interest, I love that shit. The alleles and all that there. That's super interesting stuff there. To be able to isolate and to really, you're basically boxing the genes up where there's no other option. Every seed's gonna give you that because you've bred out everything else, right? You can literally do it. It'll take you forever, F8, F9, but it'll be so bastardized. But then, there's vigor loss and all that. So, there's a lot of things to consider. So, I'm still just dipping my feet in the knowledge. I don't think I even get the whole S and F thing there. I know filial and selfing and stuff like that there. But I mean, there's males involved and there's just doing it with the fem side. I know that having the males in there is a lot better for fishing out genetics and stuff like that and really going deep, right? So yeah, definitely something I'm looking at. It'll come.
You seem to have a genuine want to, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
it's
wish you
just a
the
matter of
best on it.
space, man. I just don't have the space there. So, it's in the works. Or someday there big changes are coming from either. So
I
let's
love
just say
hearing
that
that.
things are open. You know what I mean? So I like that. I like that the future has possibilities. So we'll just we'll leave those possibilities open, right? See what happens.
Yeah, I wish I could go a little bit bigger, man. I love the thought of Oklahoma and the unlimited plant count. Um,
Damn
I,
straight.
I, I would pop his man. I'm right there with you. I would be popping seeds, genetics like crazy. I don't think I would be worried about flour, oil, none of that. I think I would just be fucking hunting like a fucking crazy, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah,
I think I'd be the guy you'd want to come see in Oklahoma for genetics,
yeah,
for
exactly.
clones. You wouldn't
Lots
be
of
counting
jars.
on me and my farm for flour and oil. You'd be pheno after pheno. I like the fucking breeder Steve kind of the million strain marts. I think I share that dream with you.
Million strain merch, yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I'd have a million little jars or a sample of each batch or of all my favorites, and you know what I mean.
I
And
forget what
keep
he
digging
exactly what he calls his dream, but you know what I'm talking about? Who Breeder Steve is and what I'm talking about there?
like a bucket list there.
No, he's got a huge hunk of land. I forget exactly where it is, but he's doing a huge pheno hunt, and basically, uh, you mail him your seeds, and if you ever want to come see the place, you're more than willing. When he's going to have them all flowering at once. So all the strains he takes in, he's going to pop, run out, and then when he gets them all timed out, he wants to
Oh, he's gonna
fucking
run everyone's seeds at one shot. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's a good idea.
he's
Eh? Why not?
he'd like to have a million different strains at some point,
Shit, that's a good way to go about it, man.
right?
Why not? Shit, if you got the place, million strains. Wow, man, that'd be fucking awesome, bro. Imagine that field, eh?
Awesome.
Holy shit.
I I I can only envision it like two ways, like Wonka or like the Wizard of Oz, like you're just coming over that golden road,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
waves, purples.
Because usually it's monocrop, right? They're all the same, but this is like every single one's like, oh my lord, Yeah, man. I have a field day just
I
smelling
think
them.
I'd be that at that point. I don't know if I'd be so happy. I think I'd actually hallucinate the little elves and shit coming
Oh man.
out of the
You
fields and
must be in a
shit.
trip there because there's no way this is real, man. Yeah, yeah, man.
It-
Shit. That'd be really cool. I never know
So,
someday.
do you have any cannabis dreams or cool places that you hope you see sometime in your life, or have you been to some cool, amazing cannabis events, places, or you'd like to
No,
share?
man. I had a chance to go take well to go see Frenchie live here in Montreal. He came down there and I missed him and I even messaged him on IG saying, "Ah, shit, I missed you, but I'll see you next time. I should have went, man. But aside from that, no, not really, man. Like I said, because of the legalization, I didn't attend nothing, didn't see nothing. I was ignorant to everything until it was legal, and then I started looking up everything. Since then, I really haven't had the time to do any attending. The last 2 years have been, you can't do shit. So, yeah, man. I've pretty much been an indoor grower there, literally, since all this stuff started there. 'Cause I started like a few months before all these lockdowns and shit. So, yeah, man.
Some good come out of the COVID, I'd say, out of that. Then, yeah.
Oh, for sure,
Like,
man. Hone my growing skills, that's for sure. A lot of time to do it too. My plants loved it. They silver linings. Yeah.
so let's see here. What do we what have I not asked Mr. Crack Babies? I thought that was funny when I posted that somebody was like, what a wonderfully beautiful name there.
Yeah, terribly
Well, I think
wonderful name. Yeah, I love that. No, because me too, man. You know, like I was gonna change it at first. Like obviously, I'm not gonna keep this as a business name because that's not gonna work. But at the same time, it's catchy, right? People know they know that name now. You know, I don't know. It stands
you
out.
know what's funny. I'll tell you a little funny story on my end about your name is as I sit here night after night, I see these names go through chat, you know, I I used to kind of hit some of these names like the first time I seen them. You know what I mean? You're on the shout out list. And then I kind of relaxed a little bit, and as the list started getting longer and longer, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'll pick and not pick and choose, but I want to see the names there a few times. You know what I mean? If I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
every one, the one and only time I see it, then I'd be there
Oh
for an
shit.
hour every night. Easy.
Yeah.
So, and I've had people, there's a couple names on the shout out list where I know they've just changed their names to fuck with me. Selling Sally silly she sells. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're
I
doing it on
know.
purpose, right?
Yeah, just to fuck with me. So the first couple times I seen crack baby DWC, I'm thinking, is this fucking, is this webcam? Is this fucking whatever? So I that name passed by a few times, and I had to really see interact and not
Yeah.
be a shithead basically in chat. I'm like, okay, this isn't.
No,
He's on the
exactly.
list. This isn't a fuck with me name.
That's why I added
I
DWC, man,
actually put you on the
because
list. Eh?
you know the DWC part had to be added there because context, right? It made a big difference, to be honest, there, because people were like, "Oh, I don't know, man." They weren't talking to me, you know. It's like, who's this guy, you know? But yeah, once you know me, it's like it has nothing to do with it, really. It was a stupid, you know, like it was a bit like that. What's that strain or where's my bike? Right? It's Amnesia Haze and Biker Kush. Like that's a clever name. I really like that name. So it was kind of similar to that. CrackBabies was a clever name for bag seed green crack. You know, and I love that strain. So that's me. History.
I appreciate it. That's another thing too that people scoff at some of these cannabis names these days. It's not gonna be good medicine. I don't want my grandma having to walk into a pharmacy and be. I've actually heard green
Yeah.
crack cited. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, I can see it and I don't. But come on, I mean, how many names I can you possibly have, and why can't you have fun with it a little bit? You know,
Well, there's Alaskan
I
Thunderfuck. You know, I mean that's
right off
how
the
much
cuff,
better.
I told myself one of the fucking first strains I'm ever gonna name one of my shit is Stink Finger. Something like that.
Love it.
Smell my thing, man.
It's
Stink
appropriate, man.
finger.
It's definitely appropriate.
I was actually bummed out. Somebody actually does have a strain called Stink Finger. I was like,
Oh,
ooh.
yeah. That's, well, a skunky strain for sure, you know. That would be fitting.
Fitting in the recreational market. Why not?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Do
they
you
have some
have
weird
any names
strains.
set aside? Have you
Oh,
ever
shit,
thought of
eh?
any,
Damn.
or do you? I guess. Do
There's
you want
none
to
left, man.
divulge?
There's no.
Do you? That's I thought about that as I said it. I'm like, shit, man. Somebody might just snatch that up as he says it. I
No,
don't
it's
know who
true.
wants to.
There's like it's like band names, you know. What are you gonna if you're a band? What are you gonna call yourself I mean, forget it. They've all been taken, and then some. So kind of the same thing with the strains. Or they're getting kind of dumb. They're some weird names there. It's like death breath, and puke breath. It's like, nah, I don't think I want to meat breath. It's like, what? No. I don't even want to smell that strain. You know what I mean? It's not a good
So
name.
let me ask you this. What would be your kind of recipe? Would you kind of go random random name at it, or would you try to blend the two mom and dad names into a single name?
Yeah,
What would you kind of be your angle at coming up with a name?
it would probably be that. They're trying to blend both, right? Especially if there's meanings, like that biker cushion amnesia haze. Where's my bike? Like that's just that kind of name there, right? It's clever. Where is it? Because you got amnesia, you don't know where the hell anything is. And where's my bike? Well, it's biker kush, right? So that to me that was really smart. So those kind of names, I like that. It makes you think a little. It's clever. Some of them you just don't have a choice. It's blueberry banana, or you know what I mean. What are you gonna do with that? Eight berries, I don't know. So it's
So do you
it
have any
depends what it is.
particular terp profile? You said gas, but is it can always? I mean, gas is good, but you enjoy other things every so often.
Yeah,
Some fruit, pine.
yeah. The
You have
blueberry is
a
really nice.
secondary.
Actually, grape ape, not grape ape, grape god, which I think comes from grape ape. That one is really nice. Like you right out of the bag there. It's like, wow, that's like great Kool-Aid there. Awesome. And then blueberry, obviously, that's a nice one. But I like the Kushes, all those hashy Kushes there, the spicy Kush, that Kush taster. That's pink Kush, Master Kush, Hindu is really nice. I haven't tried the kosher Kush. I heard that one's really nice. But all those Kushes there, basically, all that signature Kush taste there. So love that. Love to make hash with that. And then the rest, like the Where's My Bike's got a peculiar kind of gassy, spicy. You know what I mean? Amnesia haze there. It's got a somewhat citrusy a bit there, but more than the spicy. I like all strains, but I haven't tried enough to know. To be honest, I really need to dip my nose into many bags. So many bags in so little time. And now I stopped
I'm
buying,
kind of
so I'm sampling less, right?
jealous of Canada's medical system, to be honest with you. Uh, the way you guys can actually like just drop some cannabis in the mail, buddy. What is it, ounce, 2 ounce?
Yeah,
What's the
yeah,
limit for the
30
mail?
grams. Yeah, 1 ounce. That's awesome. And they even have the instructions on the Canada Post website how to mail your cannabis. It's like, I can't believe it. I pinch myself. It's like, is this really happening, man? But yeah, you can fucking smoke a joint wherever you can smoke cigarettes for most places. Grow 4 plants in most provinces. Not mine. And then, yeah, so I got the ACMPR license there, so I can grow 25. It starts at
Like the
25.
way that it's more realistic,
Yeah.
aimed at consumption and which ingestion method. You know, it scales out more accurately, I think, to real life than our use here in the States does, or at least here in Michigan. You know,
But
two
they've
point
limited
five
it. Yeah.
ounces. Yeah, that's
Two and
not
a
a
half
whole
ounces.
lot.
That's a
Well,
little
that's
better. See, the recreational is that 30 grams in public. You can't carry more than that. And at home, I
oh,
think
you
it's
can
like
have
a
two
100.
ounces in public,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and but even recreational though, I mean, you could
Because the
basically have two.
medical, you can have 150 grams, which is almost 5 ounces. Yeah, 5 ounces. So that's like 5 times
What
more than rec on you.
what I'm getting at here though is not. Uh, you have to either like be blind to it or be within very You have to be running perpetual or something very close to. I mean, if you're actually, if you didn't break it down and you're a medical grower and
Oh, you mean as a
shoot,
grower?
shooting myself in the foot, fucking, basically, if I'm only allowed per patient as a caregiver 2.5 ounces on hand for all of us, or 2.5 ounces per patient. So at
Wow, that's
max,
not much at all.
15 ounces on hand at any one time, limited to for myself and 5 patients.
That's stupid. How's that?
Yeah, isn't it?
How does that work? I mean, that plant is gonna yield, how many ounces?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I'm saying. So even if you're a home grower and you threw all your fucking,
Yeah,
you
those
didn't
guys are
space it out,
morons.
you threw all 12 of them in there, you're instantly in risk, basically, from
That's
time to
dumb.
harvest.
Because ours, they
So
did
I
it.
actually, that's one of the reasons I started running a perpetual. It's just easier for me to break the cycle up as a one man team. But if I were to, again, and these are the numbers, vice versa. Okay, that's the finished amount, but I'm allowed to have 12 plants per patient. So myself plus 5 patients, 72 plants. You know what I mean?
Uh,
If I were to
uh,
single crop that and then just be like 15 ounces at the end there for everybody to split.
so that would be like just the very, very top colas of every plant there, like the cream of the crop, right? Everything else
So
garbage.
you have to, I have to split that amount up into a monthly harvest to help pull that shit into realistic numbers. And,
That's
you
just
know,
wow. That's stupid.
but
Yeah.
and then the same aspect here, brother, you call it recreational. We're also allowed to have 12 plants recreational here in Michigan, but
Okay.
they're not. Oh, that's only per 12 per household, not per person.
Per
So
household,
12 per
yeah.
household, recreational. They can be grown with your medical plants. But if, okay, say the 12 plants are in a bedroom in the other room, or I grow them outside. I use
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
buffer a lot, to be honest with you. Come nice time outdoors. Some we talked about the re-veg. I will take
Yeah,
things
yeah,
in the
yeah.
spring that I want to save and re-veg and my recreational. You know what I mean? My
Nice.
12 recreational will be re-vegging out there. So,
Yeah. There are
but
ways around
if
it, I
I
guess.
let so if you I grow my 12 plants outdoors, or if I'm growing them in another room, and I love to inflate the numbers if possible outdoors or whatever. I'm able to produce 50 pounds with those 12 recreational plants. I'm legally able to have that 50 in a closet. Recreational use. I grew that recreational. There's no really restraints on that. But call it medicine,
Mm.
and now it's totally restricted numbers when we both know you can press that ounce into ounce of raw, or down to, let's say, your ingestion method. I've seen this and it's more realistic in Canada. I'm gonna
Yeah.
press that ounce down into a gram or two of rosin, and I go through fucking 10 grams a day. I get blown a little bit, or that could be your number. Fuck, I don't know. I'm not your
Yeah,
doctor.
see the
You
license,
know
that's
what I
how it's
mean?
based. It's based on a 5 gram a day. They give me 25 plants to
Yeah,
achieve that. So that's like, okay, 5 grams a day.
that's why
That's
I
five times three, that's
came
15. That's 150 a month. Shit, I
That's
can do that
respectable.
with 25 plants. Shit, I can do 10 times that. You know what I mean? That's crazy. I've never done more than 16 plants at one time, and that was crazy. A lot of little ones, but
That,
still.
that's what I was saying, though, man. I tip my hat to Canada and their medical system because that's more realistically based
Hmm.
to. a consumption that is could be equal to ailment or whatever, what you actually need to where, here it's almost a dirty word that you start calling it medical now. And
You almost
it's
get
gotten
penalized for it.
worse.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
make any
getting
sense.
worse and worse and worse as recreational is seeping its claws into the market because, it wasn't a few months ago they were blaming the caregivers here at fall harvest, basically, is when this came to a head. They were blaming the caregivers for an influx in the market, and they were feeding the black market where, people like myself that are trying as best as they can fucking do to live within our legal restraints because fuck, I'm still an old fucking outlaw that still is PTSD to me. The fucking thought of a cop coming in and kicking to my door and shit, that shit still from back
Oh
in the
yeah.
day is still fucking nightmarish. You know what I mean? So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
doing my best to stay in my fucking legal numbers in case fucking unfortunately I get some knock on the door. I'm as ready as fucking I can be because
Yeah.
I still hold this to be a blessing. You know what I mean? This is still a fucking blessing. But when we're gonna fucking be unrealistic about, how it should be grown and the numbers you should have and shit like that, or who's flooding the fucking market, well then it's sad. And moreover with the recreational boom, I seen the patient number dwindle. Oh, I don't need that anymore. I can grow my 12 without the card. I can carry the same amount. Well, that sucks because there goes fucking all the funding for medical research. Medical research is being dictated by the masses of the cards being drawn. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's recreational cannabis, I think, has been kind of detrimental. And again, once even my worries echo out further, as I told you earlier, is once it goes large scale and farmers are going, fuck, I ain't gonna grow corn anymore. I ain't growing weed anymore. I'm throwing down cannabis. I want that fucking big money and shit. And then fucking you know. And then at that point, they've robbed the home growers and everything else. I'm really terrified of recreational cannabis, to be honest with you. As a medical user, I'm still a huge advocate, man, because I've lost so many people to fucking pharmaceutical drugs, period. And I've seen the power of cannabis, not just as a medicine, but through cultivation, it's a very powerful medicine all itself. And
That's the
but
trick.
they
Is
want to take all that away, you know,
yeah.
for $1. It's terrifying to me that whole the recreational market. I love cannabis dearly with all my heart, but I greatly fear recreational
It's a Trojan horse, but that's what they did in Canada. When it went legal, all the medical became black market. They had to cease and desist. Everything they were doing became illegal. Now you weren't no longer an ACMPR provider for a caregiver. You were now illegal LP. You're not a licensed producer. You had to reapply and start over fresh. So that, imagine being a patient. You're getting your shit from your guy, and now all of a sudden it's illegal. And you have to go buy it from the dispensary, and the dispensary is bone dry because there's nothing. They don't have concentrates, they have flour, and it's garbage. You know what I mean? It's the shit strains that were left in stock. It was nothing for 2, 3 months. So all those people were forced to break the law. Of course, they still got their shit. The people that were selling, they kept selling. It became the new black market. That's how I got to try all the strains. Basically, just off those ACMPR sellers, those previous medical dispensaries were now, the new gray market, I guess you would call it. But it was really black because black was the guy that came at your door there that you didn't know what was in the bag. That was the black market. That guy dead, done. Now the medical, you can get commercial packaging, and it's much better price. It's good quality. You can pick a strain. You can mix and match. Big improvement, but still all illegal. You know what I mean? So for that, I didn't feel bad.
It's the same. You're saying it correctly too. I mean, once cannabis is so close to pharmaceutical medicine, yeah, and it's getting that way to where your medical cannabis is packaged, it's branded, and you might as well be walking around with a shirt that says Pilsner. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah,
think at that point, big cannabis is coming in going, hey, why don't you fucking throw my product out front, with the big sign? You know what I mean? I'll tip you a little
exactly.
bit extra. That's what it's going to get boiled down to. And again, is that strain even fucking medical? You know what I mean? Or is it just come with a free t-shirt?
That's the thing.
I
It's
walk
not.
out. That's my
It's
medicine. It's the oxytocin from the free product.
they're hopping over the medical benefits, right? It's like they're saying, okay, we're gonna legalize it. It's great dope, right? And that's all they're admitting to. It's like, okay, we made it legal. It's cannabis. It's a drug, and we're gonna regulate it. But no, it's medicine. They're not like they're not acknowledging it. It's like they hopped over the whole medicinal aspect, and they're going straight to the rec. So to me, that's kind of the Trojan horse in the sense that all these companies, they're getting in, but they're getting in on the rec side, and they're pushing the whole recreational aspect of it, not the medicinal, abolish the whole pharmaceutical industry aspect, which they will never want to
They're
talk
thinking
about, right?
that's who's going to be. They're going to be the first ones investing. The
Exactly.
dollars that medical cannabis has already. That was a huge scare to that market. I
Yeah.
think they're already the ones lobbying right now for recreational cannabis, just so we'll shut the fuck up. So the numbers will fucking, like I said, they'll dwindle. They'll go, oh, the potheads just wanted to smoke pot. Here's your fucking pills. It was all just a fucking sham. And then fucking
Exactly.
they'll go back to fucking feeding the market with fucking drugs again. And it'll be a win-win with them. And then they'll just take their money and invest in recreational cannabis and go, we got you fuckers both ways. Same thing
Exactly.
with alcohol. Alcohol and tobacco are the same people that are losing right now. I mean, people aren't, again, if you drink, I don't, good power to you. But the fact of it is, that market is losing numbers as well to cannabis. They, you know what I mean?
Good.
They would much rather join the fight and put their money behind it and not let you grow it at home. The same reason they didn't want you producing alcohol at home.
Like the
You
MCMA,
know,
right? They're trying to
yeah.
isolate, the market there and get all the small guys out of it, so they can offer their garbage and have no competition. Yeah, it's awfully familiar to what's going on here. But
Guys that have the dream in cannabis will be ones like myself that, wanted to have that farm to grow cannabis just because we love to produce it, because we love the plant. We'll be the first to be weeded out of recreational cannabis because we
yeah,
don't, can't afford that large scale and all the hoops to jump through that they've laid out for us.
that and a scare. It's become so like there's so much of it now. Like that whole thing where they're saying it's all gonna crash there because everybody's made way too much. That's but that's the big players. So to me, it's like, oh, if they fall, good. But I think it's because they're trying to take all the small guys out there. And if that happens, it's bad news for everyone. But it's a growing, man. As long as they don't take your growing, then charge what you want. Who cares? We'll grow our own. It's just limiting you
Shit,
to not growing for anybody else. That sucks.
there's already a lot of communities out there that are trying to take away your ability to even have like a vegetable garden, much less cannabis.
Yeah, it's
How much is
insane.
sustaining yourself about?
Yeah, it's New World Order shit there. You know what I mean? No gardens.
That's
Come
why I'm a
on.
big advocate for everybody to take it up now. And if you love this smoking in the plant, enjoy the plant itself, and you might as well take and start enjoying the other benefits of it, which I, like I said before, I honestly think the cultivation side of it is every bit of fulfilling as any high that you get,
Oh
from
yeah,
cannabis itself.
I'm addicted to the grow. I can't stop. So I just got to grow less so that I can keep growing. Big harvest, I'm like, oh shit, I got to take a break. But if I harvest a little bit, then I can keep going, Because I love the routine of it. I like taking care of my girls. It's a great skill to have, to be honest. I mean, if shit hits the fan, then that's gonna be great currency, and it's also gonna be a great skill to grow your own food and stay alive. You know what I mean? You can remediate your soil. There's many things you can apply there, make yourself survive, an asset to the community. We're gonna be like
And
gods.
that's
Oh, here's the cannabis grower. I'll bow down. He's gonna grow our weed. You know. Yeah, man, I want to be that guy. Prized.
man, that's you just mentioned another great thing that's come out of cannabis, is the community. That's another thing that could be lost within, because of the threat of the taking the grow away. We're all here because we're fucking growers. We love this plant. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
the glue that binds a lot of us together. And if you lose that, then there goes a lot of glue. But man, that's the one thing that I love these days. That back from when I started, was peeking out the windows because I was
Ah,
worried that anybody would even fucking find out. Is the community nowadays, man? It's fucking awesome. Like we kind of hinted about last night with Rastafari. There is, there's I found better people in the cannabis community than throughout my 50 years
yeah.
growing up with, working with, or just total random gatherings through cannabis. I've met some fucking amazing people. And even more so now, I really appreciate communities like this. MJ Coco's Coco for Cannabis. Uh, the fact that we are more and more great information out there. There's people out there putting forth great information, but more so, uh, the citizen science of it all, man, and open
Yeah.
source learning, if you will. We don't
Exactly.
all have to agree on whatever, but if we could take something from an open source and incorporate it into whatever you're doing and run with it and whatever, that's awesome. Take my idea, add it to your shit. I don't care if it, works, it works. If don't, it don't, but nonetheless, man, the ideas are being put forth, for us to all consider, listen, and learn from. And that's
It's
it's
a
awesome.
beautiful thing,
It's an
man.
awesome.
Because it's a sharing of information. It's not a hoarding of it. Like some people are, it took me years to learn this. I'm just gonna tell you. It's like, well, yeah, somebody told you, right? Unless the guy paid thousands of dollars and got educated in a university for it, I doubt it, right? So, yeah, man, it's a community of sharing, and we're stronger for it, right? We hoard the information, nobody gains. Whereas by doing what we do and the show that you have, and these communities are just essential to that, man. They help everybody. I've learned so much from just listening to you guys. Just talking. It's you guys are my peeps, man. So I want in.
And it's been awesome to have you fucking hanging out, brother. It's been a great, addition to the community. So,
I appreciate that, Eagle. From you, it means a lot. Gee,
even more
bro.
so that I've had the chance to talk with you firsthand.
Nice.
Great piece, man. I tell you, I take a little bit of something from everybody, man. I'm very much an empath, but man, I take a little bit of the energy, but I take a little bit of the person with me every time too. Uh, I've been blessed with coming across a lot of amazing people like yourself. Blessed. I'm blessed to meet so many great people like yourself.
Well, I have to say the
cannabis
same, Eagle.
community.
You're an angel, brother. You got wings for a reason. You know what I mean? Eagle's a great name. It's fitting.
Blessed. So, what have we left to talk about here, Mr. CrackBabies DWC? That fucking name makes me smile. So, and I got to give you another, some more credit here too, man, for sticking with your guns, man. There's so many people that are quick to rebrand, or I'm funny about even the icon, man. The icon that I've used, I've had for a very long time. People, I kick people every day. You want me to do you a logo? I'm like, no. That's like
I
my
got
water
one.
stamp.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
So I give you some credit for sticking by the guns, even though you didn't. It's a funny name, man. It pulls you in,
It's
basically.
politically
It makes
incorrect, and I kind of like that. You know what I mean? That's all right. I'm okay with it. Just like the name of your show, right? A little politically correct, but I like that. Take a step out the box, right? Color outside the lines.
so. Do we want to call it good at this point? You want to call it good and open up the wormhole, or I
Yeah,
could
I think we pretty much covered
I
some
can pick the
boxes.
source. Oh, you'd be surprised.
Well, I
You'd
know
be
you're good with
surprised how
questions
good.
there. Up to you, but I think we covered most of the bases there. I can't think much. But I know you want an ad, right? You want a shout out there for the episode, right? It's 563, is it?
Right now. Yep. Let me get my recording ready there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're talking to CrackBabies, and I'm fucking talking shit with Eagle on episode 563. It's a great talk. We talk about all sorts of stuff, and if you want to get to know why they call me CrackBabies, well, you'll have to tune in and find out. So I hope you come and check it out. Have a great day.
That was a fucking really good sound bite, man. I'm impressed.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I'm almost sometimes a little let down because in the beginning episodes, man, if you go back and watch some of them, I used to have to do like a 5 minute fucking spiel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
About
yeah,
the
yeah.
soundbite and shit. Now everybody comes in, they've got it all fucking. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't even got the record button ready anymore before it comes out. So
Nice.
yeah. I did have fun tonight, man, and I am very glad that we had this opportunity to do the spotlight and give you the ultimately the key into the weed nerd world. I think you're going to be a great addition to the community that hangs out night after night. I think you pretty much know how that works. Now that you've done this, you can come and go any point you want in the weed nerd world. Any title that says weed nerd world, you're open to. There's no invitations on my part. You come whenever you feel like hanging out, and I can see this will be a lot of fun having you around. So I hope you take me up on that invitation and come hang out when you feel what you want to. When you don't and you want to just hang out and chat, that's cool too, man. That's how we came to love CrackBabies DWC. Some nights it's just fun to hang out in the background and smoke. So I can greatly appreciate that too. But the Zoom link that I sent you is the very same one that will be used in the weed nerd world. Keep that tucked under somewhere safe so you have it. If you lose it, just hit me up. I'll send it again. But
Perfect.
yeah, man, I'm greatly looking forward to it, and I can't thank you enough for this great chat, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, I really appreciate it, Eagle. I think I needed to get all this out there, and I can't think of a better person to do it with. So thank you for what you do on this channel, and all the Weed Nerd World guys. I'm coming. We'll see you soon.
Right up. You want to give any shout outs before you go? I know there's a lot of people that came to support you tonight, and of course,
Absolutely.
another big
Absolutely.
community behind us as well. So shout them
Yeah,
out, brother.
man. Everybody at Coco for Cannabis, my crew, I'm sure, is in the chat there, and definitely Spot Poker and Crispy Wannabe, Buffy D, and my co-hosts on Sunday and Confused show that we just started. basically, inspired by growing with my fellow growers and your show, we just thought, it'd be nice to have our own little talk space. And so thanks to you guys for inspiring us, and we're carrying the torch. We're going to do the same thing. So cheers to everybody in chat, the Weed Nerd World gang. I'm coming. It's been nice seeing you in chat, but now I'll be able to chat with you guys too. So that's really great. Yeah. I'm speechless, man. You made my day with this. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. So thanks to all of you. Grow a love.
It means a lot to me that it means anything to you guys. So hell yeah to that. And hopefully you guys will be loading up your trays, emptying your bladders, and catching us here in a few minutes in the Weed Nerd World. If not, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Please take time to do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. But for the rest of you, we will see you in the Weed Nerd. Hopefully CrackBabies will show, but if not, I'll
I'm
stand
coming.
on that too. Hell
I'm coming.
yeah. We'll see you in a few.
See you there. Grow a love.